Welcome back, everybody. This is Mark 152 of Geeks Chasing Squirrels Across the Multiverse. My name is Greg. I am the Bat Daddy 52, and we have a packed show tonight. Lots of stuff coming out. Finally, the premiere of ANDOR, all the shows we've been covering, and a special guest. So we got a lot going on. Let me go ahead and hop into it. Start with my homeboy Ross. Baby Bear, what's up?
Baby Bear.
Baby Bear.
Man, if we don't talk about that, just Boimler losing his crap is about the only thing that I need to get across tonight, because that scene in that show was fantastic. I'm doing good. Friday night, as always, enjoying the cooler weather. So
felt fantastic today if you're in North Carolina. Really, really did. So, Sarah will be joining us here in just a little bit. She's wrapping some things up. She'll hop on. But we do have a special guest tonight, Dalton Shannon. He is the writer of Frankenstein, the Unconquered, and we are going to talk about this comic book tonight. Dalton, how you doing?
Doing fantastic. Happy to be here. It is nice and cool. We're up in Wisconsin, and it's finally where I can just leave the door open and not even have to run the AC anymore. It's great.
Yeah. Been ready for those times, and I know that living here in North Carolina, we'll have it for about a week like this.
Yeah.
And then it'll either get insanely hot again.
Come on, we'll get two.
Maybe. It'll get insanely hot again for the next 2 months, or it'll just drop to 0 degrees. 10 degrees.
Like, about how it was back in Arkansas. Arkansas was very fickle with its fall.
No. Weather's very unpredictable. But Dalton, you're joining us tonight. You have excuse me, word salad there. You are the creator of a comic book here, the writer of the comic book here, and is Frankenstein the Unconquered.
Yes.
You shared it with us. You're here to talk about your Kickstarter and talk about the first issue. So just kind of walk us into what this comic's about.
Yeah, so I'm co-writer and co-creator with my writing partner, Wells Thompson. We do a lot of different projects together. Frankenstein's the most recent. It's basically Frank meets Conan. 500 years in the future, post-apocalypse, the monster thaws from the ice after the end of the original novel and basically just cuts a swath of destruction across the world. If it belongs on a Megadeth cover, it belongs in this book. There's over-the-top action, monsters, swords. Also, like, the book opens with him like riding a star down back to Earth from space, and then cutting a swath of destruction from there. It's so much fun. It's so over the top, and it's, I don't know. It allows us to really just kind of bring all of our crazy, like, adult isn't the right word, but more grown up idea, because we also have another series that's all ages, and we also get to really like let loose and have fun with that one, but in a different vein. Frank is very, very cool. I just like Frank a lot.
You can say metal. He's metal.
He's metal as hell.
Well, I mean, starting off, the first question I got to ask walking into this is, why Frankenstein? Like, what brings you to that decision with this character?
Yeah, I always grew up with the Universal horror films.
Okay.
So Lugosi's Dracula, Karloff's Frankenstein, Chaney's Wolfman. Loved those as a kid growing up. And as a kid, I was really into like Wolfman and Creature. They were like the most aesthetically cool. They just looked neat. But as I got older and started appreciating them more as like films rather than just excuses to watch monsters, Karloff's Frankenstein really, like, of all of those films, Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein are really the only ones, except maybe Dracula, that you can kind of look at and say, this is art. And the character that Karloff imbues in the monster, along with going back and reading Shelley's original novel and seeing how those two are like polar opposites and yet still feel like the same character. I've actually been on a bit of a tirade this marketing campaign, saying that Frank's kind of like the Batman of the Universal monsters, in that you can do something completely silly like Batman 66 and then do something super grounded like The Dark Knight, and it all still feels like Batman. It doesn't feel like insincere. And the same can be said with Frankenstein. It all still feels like, if we did this with Dracula, something would feel a little off. But Frankenstein allows us to kind of go anywhere, do anything, and putting a sword in his hand is, I don't know, it's not like the next logical step.
Yeah. Ross, you got anything?
First off, congratulations, you guys fulfilled your $5,000 goal from what I saw on Kickstarter.
Yes,
So.
it's the fastest. It's the best campaign we've ever had. Like 3 days, it blew us away.
Yeah.
We were we were expecting it to be cool, but because the first campaign did really well, but not like this. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, you guys. I was tracking it when Greg was sending out the information. I went and checked it out. I'll get to the comic book in a second, but just watching how fast you guys are rolling up, and like there's still 26 days left in your campaign, so that's got to definitely speak to either past projects or what you have been doing to actually get this project out in people's hands. The idea, that was going to be my first question too, like not just why Frankenstein, but like where did the idea come from, and the group that you have working on it. I mean, it does spectacular work. I mean, I love the art shots. I love all of the action shots. I mean, the phrases are just enough to show you, like I said, how metal Frankenstein seems in this thing.
I love this shot
or
right
the
here.
monster.
Oh yeah, Mary's fantastic. Wells and I are spoiled rotten because we've only had great collaborators to work with. Mary Landrose, the line artist. Like this young 24-year-old out of Canada. She is a sweetheart, love her to death, and then she draws shit like this, and she always seems so excited when we give her pages because she's like, I don't get to draw this that often. Like this is awesome. And you go look at her Instagram, and she's drawing like Batman and Joker all the time. She's worked with Todd McFarlane on some Spawn stuff before. Like she is so talented, and it's almost a shame that we have to throw color on it because I kind of want a big artist edition of her inks. But Dahlia Maha's colors, like I love how much they pop. It's almost like it's almost zany in how like clashing the colors can be with the art at times, but it never feels like it's not supposed to be there. It feels like a part of this world, even though it's so like exaggerated. Especially on like I actually just got my my comps in today. So like on the double page spread, like all those bright neons and everything on there, like Dahlia's color work just speaks for itself. Really brings out the art, yeah. And then of course Nathan Kemp, our letterer, makes all of our stupid words look so great and flow on the page. It doesn't seem too bloated with narration, which in a book that's trying to evoke a lot of 70s Roy Thomas Conan books can get a little bloated with his narration, but Nathan makes it look effortless. It's great.
Yeah, there's just enough that keeps the mysterious, the mysticism with him. You know, I love the intro of bringing him in, and just right out the gate, it's just an explosion.
Yeah,
and then like I was sitting there trying to connect the dots in my head while I was reading it. Like all I could think about was like how hardcore the whole situation would actually be. And like that's when I was like, where did the idea come from for this to happen? Because it just felt massive.
Yeah. Originally I think I had the idea of doing like a cosmic Frankenstein where he's kind of like going through space with a sword and a ray gun and fighting monsters and aliens and stuff. But then like that image of him with the sword and then like the long hair really was like, oh, this is Conan. Has nobody really done this before? That's so surprising to me. And so I was like, okay, we jumped on it. Frankenstein as Conan the Barbarian. And we kind of kept that space thing about 30 years ago when Frank got exiled into space. Like he wakes up from the ice 200 years ago. Cuts a swath of destruction across the continent, like pisses off all the wrong people, and then they all finally get together and shoot him into space. And now about 30 years have passed, and he's like murdered the stars to get home to seek his revenge. And so it starts off with a bang of him just murdering a star as they fall, crash into the desert, and then he just wants some food, and then the wrong people piss him off. And this whole first arc is him back on Earth trying to get revenge on those who shot him into space in the first place. So it's one big like Mad Max revenge quest. it only gets crazier from here. Each issue we're introducing more monsters. Issue 2 for the campaign we're doing now actually introduces the Wolfman. The Bride's going to be in some flashbacks. We're going to have Jekyll and Hyde, Invisible Man, all sorts of cool stuff in the next few issues.
Nice.
That sounds pretty insane. I noticed the Neil Gaiman book right here too.
Yeah, they always, especially in Shelley's novel, Frank always talks about Paradise Lost, and that's also a common book people find in like the ashes of an apocalypse. And I was like, that's old school. Let's put like a modern book in the ashes to show just how, I don't know, modern the apocalypse was.
Yeah,
and it was that was just a little Easter egg, I guess.
I saw it pretty cool. I was like, I had to check that, kind of zoom in on it because I've only got the digital copy. I had to zoom in on it to get the name of it. But I was like, okay, very nice. I'm glad you explained that timeline because of this, that was the only thing that was really confusing me. I was trying to figure out the placement of the timeline and only reading through one issue. It was kind of, it was a little difficult for me. But that now that I can picture it now, like the 30 years and the 200 years. I think the 500-year thing was what threw me off. There were so many numbers in math.
Right.
Definitely not my strong suit.
Not as fortunate.
Definitely not my strong suit.
Yeah,
but,
we really wanted this first issue to have a lot of momentum. So we have the flashback of how Frank, began essentially as a conqueror, but we start filling in the gaps in subsequent issues of like the particulars of what happened that got him sent into space, essentially. So we do start kind of solidifying that timeline as issues go on. But more or less, it's 500 years after the novel, and then 200 years after that, he gets sent into space. So it's 700 years after the end of the novel, essentially.
And then 30 years after that is when he's coming down.
Right.
Gotcha. So 730. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now, did I just miss that? But in the book, did it say it was 10 years? 10 years up there was 30 years on the planet?
Right, celestial body movements. So he has spent 10 years in space. To him, it's only been 10 years. But
gotcha.
on Earth,
that was the only part I was really fuzzy on after reading like the prologue and everything. So
yeah,
this splash page is beautiful.
Oh my god, I'm
beautiful.
I'm considering getting like a massive print of it to just hang in my office because honestly that previous page was a feat in and of itself. That's a 12-panel montage page that could have honestly been its own issue of material. And we had it in the script, gave it to Mary, and we were like, she's probably going to have to be like, split this at least into 2 pages or something. And she just comes back with the page, just saying, all done. And it's not even in like these static 12-panel grids. It's super dynamic. It tells a story. And then you flip it, and it's the double-page spread. And it's like, we don't deserve you, Mary.
Yeah.
Someday
keep
she's
her
going to
name
find
and number on a list.
Yeah, she's going to find out she's too good for us soon.
Well, the way that's blended all together right there, like that's just like a perfect tattoo.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a sleeve.
That's something else we got to do with Frank is if it belongs as a tattoo, then you should probably get it in this book too.
Yeah. It was at this point because I was looking at the character, I'm sitting there thinking Frankenstein, and I'm like, the only way that it could be like, I don't know if we should really like spoil the end. At the very end, after he goes on his little rager, and then he's like, you gave me food and you gave me fire, and he's like, but don't you ever do that again. And it was that scene. I'm like, if he didn't, like, if he could just take like a little something from like each of his victims or each of the people that he, does something with, being Frankenstein.
Yeah. Frank, at least to me, doesn't seem much of a trophy hunter. He's very much like a force of nature. He's very like one-minded. He's going to do his goal, and if anybody pisses him off, something happens to him. He is a man of like twisted honor. Like the dude's not a good person. Like like he can blame the world for not accepting him all he wants, but he makes his own choices. Like he's a monster. And that's kind of something we're going to be exploring throughout the series is how much of this rage is like actually justified, or is Frank just as terrible a person as the people he hates, and kind of dissecting all the toxic traits he inherited from Victor about, what it means to be a human, what it means to be a man, and how the world reacts to all of that. It's there's a lot of meat left over from the novel that we can kind of flesh out in the ongoing. It's so much fun.
Well, you say that he's a man who has a goal in mind and he's just not going to let anything get in his way. But what is his goal, or is this something we're going to figure out as the story progresses?
Yeah, it was intentionally left vague.
Okay.
So this first issue is actually pretty much an adaptation of our ash can that we did when we first started out. We made our own ash cans. We wrote them, and then I drew them, and then we stapled them together and took them to cons. And they're not very good. They're poorly drawn, but the meat of the story is still in here.
Okay.
It's only 8 pages, but you have him falling to earth, fighting bad guys, and then riding off into the sunset. That eventually got adapted into our other series, Descent into Dread. So somebody who can actually draw drew Frank here. So a lot of the ash cans we did got adaptations, but we actually got to kind of really kind of flesh out the story in more than 8 pages, and that the vagueness of it kind of came from a place of the ash can, where if this was the only issue of Frankenstein the Unconquered that ever came out, it would be pretty okay, because it ends with him riding off into the sunset, almost like a Western. Right. And the way the series is kind of structured, at least in that first arc, is he comes to a town, he solves a problem, and then he leaves the town. And then the next issue is kind of the same thing. It all builds towards an arc, but it's got that kind of almost that Clint Eastwood feel to it. Right. So yeah, the goals aren't necessarily there in the first issue. But as we progress and we start seeing more of the flashbacks, especially issue 2 is really where it kicks off with the flashbacks. There's half the issue is flashback. And each issue kind of builds in the flashback and in the present day until they end up colliding in, I believe, issue 5 or 6.
Okay. And
it all comes to a head. But we do kind of get into the whys. It boils down to revenge at the end of the day. Dude's pissed he got shot into space, but someone he cares about got really hurt during that whole kerfuffle as well. And someone he trusted was behind everything. So he's very much on. He's hell bent to make it right in his head, and nothing's gonna stop him.
Right. Right. When you're on those revenge tours like that, not much does, especially when you're Frankenstein.
Yeah. And a lot of innocent people. Yeah, a lot of innocent people are going to get hurt too. Like our second issue introduces Larry, our Wolfman, and probably the last good person in this world. And poor Larry, things don't always go great for that guy. He's trying so hard, and Frank is Frank.
Well, and that was one thing I was going to ask you before. You kind of answered it as you were speaking a minute ago. I was going to ask, is there an end to this, or is it like a story all in one? But you even said you can read it. Issue 1 could be a story all by itself, but it is an overarching story. So yeah. I guess you have information to pull from with this novel. You can just write endless stories about this character.
Yeah, if we were specifically in this era of Frank, there is one through line. So we have about 13 issues planned out for the ongoing series. Okay. But there, especially in the prose piece in the back, that's set before Frank gets shot into space. Okay. And so there's an entire world of Frankenstein stories set in that 200 years after he comes out of the ice that you could just do one and done stories forever. And that's kind of exciting to think about, but right now it's just straight up first arc is revenge, and then there's a turn, and then we go into our second arc, and it's a straight shot to the end, essentially. So yeah, there's lots you can do with Frank, and we even have thought about what to do after the series is over, and maybe going back to Cosmic Frankenstein. What was Frank even doing in space all those years? There's with someone like Frankenstein and with the kind of personality that we've given him, where he's more of a force of nature than a man. Mm-hmm. The dude could punch a supernova to death. I'm convinced he could do that. And there's so much you could do with it. exciting to think about.
Oh yeah.
I definitely love the scale that you've given him. I think that
Yeah.
it's a playground, man. Like you
Yeah.
got so much to play with.
Yes.
So Tin Tizzy in the chat says he loves the artwork in the comic book.
Oh, yes, thank
and
you. Mary's
he's
great.
asking where you get your inspiration from.
Oh, inspiration. I mean, I'm obsessed with comic books. Like that's my one true love is comics. So, I mean, as a kid, you grow up loving superheroes and stuff. And I fell in love with Kirby and Ditko, Toth, really all of those just phenomenal artists of the 50s and 60s. And then, of course, you go into you've got the greats with Byrne and everybody, but I didn't really click with anybody else until I found Todd McFarlane's work, and I love that super cartoony animated stuff that McFarlane does. I love the attitude. But if we're talking storytelling in general, it's usually Grant Morrison. I don't think I've read a bad Grant Morrison story. They usually make me cry. And so I really, you could definitely tell reading Frankenstein. There's Morrisonisms throughout that kind of huge cosmic scope. I love the big cosmic stuff.
Right.
I couldn't write a Daredevil story to save my life, but you give me Superman, we'll go all day. You know, like I love the larger than life stuff, and I think the biggest inspiration for Frank specifically are those Universal films and the Roy Thomas Conan comics from the Bronze Age. Those are really where I'm pulling from a lot. But you're going to see Grant Morrison and Jack Kirby in just about anything that I do.
It's a good mixture.
Yeah.
Good
Yes.
combination.
I am just heartbroken that those two will never collaborate on a comic book. I'm holding out hope. I keep trying to manifest this. I want Grant Morrison and John Romita Jr. to do a Fantastic Four run, but Grant Morrison would never do it, and it kind of breaks my heart.
Never say never, I guess. I've seen weirder things happen. But so one thing I always ask the creators when they come on here is, from when your idea of this comic came out or this line came out, from start to finish, like when you envision it in your head and the product you have now, how much change did it go through?
Enough change to be better than I imagined it. Because like when you're
that's a good answer.
Yeah. when you're a writer, for the most part, when you lay out a script page for an artist, it all is just vagaries. Like, yeah, you can describe what's happening in a panel, but you're really just trying to describe like shadow people on a wall. Like there's not a whole lot of definition unless you're pulling from like a specific image you found on Google or something.
Right.
I have no way to communicate the amount of detail that Mary puts into a panel. Or I'm colorblind. I could never be like, Dahlia, I want this kind of palette for the book. Like it's ridiculous to consider. And you can see from the ash can, I don't know how to draw anyway. Like, so when it started off as very, loose skeleton, and eventually Wells and I worked together enough to get it to where the story, panel by panel and dialogue and stuff was at a pretty solid lock. But once you hand it over to your team, everything you worked on is just the base, because something's going to change in that translation. And if you're working with a team you trust, it's always going to be better than what you wrote anyway.
Right.
Like we always tell this to artists we work with, because we do full script. We do panel 1 is this, panel 2 is this, panel 3. But we always say, look, these are just like how we're breaking it down in our heads to tell a story. You're the artist. You know how best it's going to look on a page. If you see a way to make this better, or if you think this panel's not going to work, take it out. Like, make the page your page. It's not going to be collaboration if you're just regurgitating the script, essentially. So it changed. I mean, what's great about Frank is you can really see from like Inception all the way here. I'll show it's the same shot in every book. So here's my crappy ass drawing of Frank coming out of the crater from all those years ago. And then we had it adapted in Descent into Dread. And, you know, we're starting to get there. We're getting there. And then Mary comes in. And Mary gives us this. And it's full color. It's wild as hell.
Beautiful.
And it's... So, yeah, there's been a lot of changes to Frank. But that core is still what it was. It's still solid. But it's grown into something that's way better than it ever could have been if it was just Wells and I doing... just kind of spitballing.
I mean, that's always the best part about working with a team, you know.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, especially just seeing how people interpret your what's going on in your brain. And so I always find it amazing when someone surprises you like crazy just because words that you put into someone's head or, you know, a storyline that you had on paper that someone interpreted just turns into something that you never even imagined that it could have.
Exactly.
You know, trying to pitch an idea for like a movie or a TV show, and you hear all these people talk about how, well, you know, that's not exactly what I imagined when I walked in there to go do it. And then they turn around and, you know, I don't know, create Star Wars or like, you know, whatever weird IP that, you know, comes out of their head. And, you know, from conception to fruition is always, it's amazing. And so
it's wild. And then like that 12 panel montage and then the double page spread, like I don't get how she was able to do it and make it readable and make it like flow.
Right.
We're super spoiled. I hope they never leave.
It's always good to work with a team you trust.
Yes.
It makes things so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ross, did you have any other questions? I know we've got asked about inspiration, talked about the artwork and the storyline itself.
I mean, the only question I have is I got to figure out what the crest is about. But I guess I'm going to figure out, wait for the next drop. So.
Yeah, you'll have to go to the Kickstarter. It's live right now, issue 1 and 2. So if you missed the first issue and you've liked what you heard, you can make sure to grab that on the Kickstarter. We're already fully funded, so there's no worries there. We're actually working on stretch goals right now, so we can get the next chapter of the prose piece in the back. I think we're working towards some prints, another variant cover, some enamel pins. So it all starts stacking after a bit, but yeah, come on by. We've got some great reward tiers to choose from. You can adopt a page of Mary's work and get a one-of-a-kind print of that page.
There you go. Just
for you. And you guys have seen her work. You know how great it is. You're going to want that.
That's better than any NFT right there.
God, yes. So. We also have, I believe we still have 3 commission slots open for Mary. So not only could you get a commission from Mary, but you could adopt a page of Mary's as well. And just have all that. And, you know, when you get the adopted page, that's going to come in full color too. So like you're going to have the double page spread's already spoken for, unfortunately. That's mine.
Shout out your team, you know. I mean, give them all credit.
Yeah, go ahead. Give your team a shout out. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So you can find me on all the social medias that matter at Dalton K. Shannon. My co-writer, co-creator Wells is out on Twitter at Wells Thomp, THOMP. Mary is actually on Instagram. I believe it's Maryland Art. Dahlia is also on. Actually, I think Dahlia just has a website, so you should be able to just type in Dahlia Maha, and she's got a .com. Nathan Kempf is on Twitter as well. I think it's in Kempf, Kempf. He's French, so it's a little trickier. And of course, all our designer Brenda Snelby is at Batman and Sobin. She's the one who did all of the cover work, the logo. And all of our variant artists are there as well.
Jay Stokes having 2 first names is badass.
That's what they keep telling me. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I just get called Shannon a lot.
Well, man, it was awesome having you on. Give me all that information for your Kickstarter, and I'll put it in the show notes. That way people can find it. We'll put it out there. Try to get some people out there to support. So y'all have already hit the goals. But that doesn't mean you can't donate. That doesn't mean you can't, pay for some good content here.
Yeah,
so
help us get to the stretch goals.
There you go. But Dalton, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yes. And you're welcome to stay on as long as you like. We're about to go into Sarah just got here. We're about to hop into another show. So I'm not kicking you off by any means, but
Well, actually, I got to get prepped for a convention. I'm driving down to Milwaukee tomorrow for MightyCon, so I've got to actually get. I haven't even started packing yet. So thank you guys so much for having me on. This was a blast.
Yeah,
and
it's fun.
let me know if you ever want anything else. We'll put it out here to get up and collaborate again. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Best of luck, man.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Oh yeah. What's up, Sarah?
Oh man, it's been a crazy day.
That's been a crazy day.
You just missed our lower decks talk.
Yeah, we went all through it. We see. You know what? She won't want to talk about this.
No,
so we
you
started
didn't.
talking
Don't
about
even
it.
lie. You wouldn't do that to me, I hope. Oh my goodness. Yeah, sorry I missed the creator, but I did take a look at the comic book and it was pretty yeah, that was pretty. I like that.
Metal.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, I'll include everything to find it in the show notes if y'all want to check it out. And if you want to hear anything about it beforehand, just hit rewind and check out the stuff there. You know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, Cody's not here yet. Y'all want to hop into something else other than House of the Dragon? Do one of the smaller shows like She-Hulk, Lower Decks.
No, go rip your She-Hulk band-aid off. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. Still not liking the show. It's not terrible. It's just not for me. And that's, like I said, I don't want to talk a lot of trash about it. It's not for me. I'll talk the trash.
I'll say
I want
it.
to talk.
It's
I'll talk
entertaining,
to
but it's superficial.
y'all. Okay.
Fair.
Yeah.
I don't know, especially this one. This one is just like, I'm like, did you have to go there? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Well, at the end, they're bringing in somebody, and so I mean, you know, I mean, the internet's whole entire rumor has been, you know, this is where they're gonna introduce, God, what's his name? The big head from Hulk.
The big head from Hulk.
Oh, you're talking about
No one's gonna get me on this one. The leader. So I'm trying to get it in there. And so, you know, they brought the leader out as he's going to be the, was he going to be in the Captain America movie, I think? But the whole point is that, you know, they're going to tie him across to be part of one of the possibly bigger carryover bad guys, villains. And so if that's what they're doing at the end, and that's what the, you know, the whole thicker needle with trying to get She-Hulk's blood, because the leader was all about trying to get Bruce Banner's blood. I mean, it would be a good tie-in. So I'm good for more. I think that I think there's 9 episodes of this show, so we got 3 more. Let's see what they do.
Yeah. How many episodes do we have left?
3.
3.
Just said it.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I was just trying to make sure I'm reading and doing all stuff. So 3 episodes.
Gotcha.
I guess with 3 episodes, they can tie things back together and bring the story back around. I just don't see where this story is going in the big scheme of things. Like, I haven't seen anything stand out that really makes me, I don't know, that goes along with anything that I know in the MCU as far as where it's moving forward in the future. You know, a little bit of Hulk stuff at the beginning, but that was about it. And then, like you just said, the character introduced here, but I don't know. I feel like I may not be giving the show justice because I haven't liked what I've seen so far. So I'm really, really trying to go into open-minded, but I'm having a hard time finding a lot of things that are like, I don't know, making me feel like it's tied into this universe besides the Hulk, besides the cameos we've had. And by the way, this is the first episode we've had without a big cameo, right?
Yeah, I mean, they introduced other characters. I mean, I like the you know, little side characters they keep bringing in. In this episode, it was Lulu, the friend, and then, you know, obviously I liked the girl that's been hitting all the con circuits, Madison. You know, they're just fun characters of the week.
Yeah.
And, you know, Lulu was a real big pain in the ass in this episode. So when I say fun, I mean that it was fun, like watching her just be a shitty bridezilla. I enjoy it. If you just watch the whole entire show once they're done, you could probably get 2.5 hours out of it. Maybe
a 2.5 hour movie.
by the time that you bust all the credits and everything away from it. So
And I think that's what I'm gonna do once it finishes completely. I'm gonna give it a rewatch all the way through, just streaming it. Like you said, it'll take 2.5 hours. It'll be like watching a movie, and maybe it'll work out better. But once again, I've still got 3 episodes. It may change. I'm not sure. Cody's in the house. What's up, Cody?
Oh, what up, boys and ladies? How y'all
Thank
doing?
you.
Doing all right, man. You sound far away from the microphone.
I'm using this stupid headset that I've got.
I got you.
Yeah, I have the brand new mic. I've got everything. I'm just waiting for the arm for me to be able to mount the damn thing.
Nice.
So, yeah,
You're
not
awesome,
too much
you do.
longer of me doing the robot voice thing here, but yeah.
Well, are you watching She-Hulk?
No,
No.
I'm not.
Okay.
But I'm also not like not watching it like on purpose either.
Right. Just
Like
haven't
it's one
gotten
of
around to
those
it yet.
things that like when it's done, I'll probably just end up watching the whole thing. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard. If I'm just being very honest with you, I have not heard great things. So I don't know. Like I said, I try not to judge it. We'll see what happens.
You know what it's been for me though? It's been because you got like Rings of Power and you've got House of the Dragon, and there's so much fantasy and so many names you gotta learn, and like all like you add in Andor to the mix now with all these new characters and everything else, and you're just like, when I sit down and watch She-Hulk, I don't do anything. I just sit there
It's
and look at it.
mindless.
Yeah, I
It's
just sit there and
mindless.
look at it and I watch it and I laugh and then I turn it off.
I hear you. And honestly, if that maybe it's just me that I was looking for more in a show, and that's what this show is supposed to be, you know. And I'm just looking at it incorrectly.
It's a mindless
you know, so-
comedy. That's all.
yeah.
I mean, it depends on how much you find funny, but yeah.
So you said it was very superficial.
My thing is like this whole self-discovery. I'm like, it's just getting old because it really. There's been a few things that she's experienced that, like, to me, it's just so cliche. You know, like making a statement. Oh, I'm coming to this wedding of it's a high school friend. I mean, you don't really know how tight they are. You know, that kind of thing. And then saying, oh, I just want to come and just show everybody that I'm successful. You don't have shit to prove to anybody. That's my thing. That's what I get. I'm like, you don't have anything to prove. I'm like, and stuff like that, it just grates on me. It really does. And it might just be me. Maybe it's just me. But I mean, yeah, a lot of it's like I said, it's just mindless fun. I'm not saying it's not entertaining because you sit there and I'm just like, it was just like with Titania.
Mhm.
You know, the episode before, it's like, you're obsessed with me. No, I'm not. And then she finally admits it.
Yeah.
So I'm just like,
And
Tin says what I've been trying to echo right here with that same thing too. The effects and the pacing. The pacing of the show has been a real big problem. Titania, like you just brought up, I mean, that whole entire aspect just seems overwhelming or underwhelming. I mean, it's overstretched is probably a better way of saying it, just because they started this show off with her in the first episode at the very end. And they bring her in to do this kind of crap. And so she doesn't pose a threat. So, and now
like I said, it's like high school. To me, the whole damn show to me feels like high school.
it's almost like watching an episode of Stargirl type deal.
Exactly.
You know. And no, you're definitely not alone on that. Like that's kind of the way I feel too. Is this show has a lot of double standards, and it's a lot of you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, and then I'm gonna turn around and do this. And I'm wondering if towards the end of the show, that's part of this identity thing of her finding herself, of her realizing maybe some of these things that I'm saying don't do or this and that. I see in some situations are necessary or are different. Like, I don't know what the learning curve is going to be for this, or if that's even what they're going for. So that's why I'm watching until the end to see. But yes, it's one thing that definitely bothers me about it is it feels like a lot of teenage angst. Like, she is an adult and it feels like she's a teenager in an adult's body, you know? So we didn't get to see the suit. They mentioned the suit in this episode, but we didn't get to see the suit. We got to see the dress. Are we gonna?
You
get
may
to
not
see
see the suit for a while.
You don't think? Are we gonna get to see it in this series?
I would imagine so. I think they're just going to do the same thing. You know, they're going to Daredevil it. you know, or I guess MCU's been doing it with most of their characters. You know, they save it all till the end. So,
Speaking of Daredevil, no real mentions of him yet. We know he has an appearance in this show. 3 episodes left.
I think a lot of these shows are going to kind of just sprinkle in these characters. You know, like the big news this week was that that's what I was saying to you earlier. I can't remember her first name, but Ritter, who plays Jessica Jones, has a scheduling conflict with filming Daredevil, and so instead of that, the news is they're bringing Punisher in instead. So I would only imagine that he's going to be sprinkled in, you know, maybe a little here and a little there, just to show his face, show his skull, you know, and then to basically turn him into like the next thing. So
kind of dovetail it into his show because we know he's got something coming out soon. Well, any parts of this episode y'all wanted to bring up? I mean, it was she even says it at the beginning of like this late in the series, having a self-contained wedding episode, which is kind of making fun of yourself to that extent. Okay, I was like, okay, cool. I mean, at least they're being honest with me. This is a late in the series self-contained episode, so we'll see what happens with it in the future. But any particular parts of this episode y'all wanted to bring up?
The end.
Let's do it.
I mean, because honestly, now I'm like, oh, are we getting into a story? See, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the kind of stuff I'm looking for.
Yeah,
that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I don't know what.
With the stuff they've given us through 6 episodes, I feel like they could have told all of this through 3. So maybe through the last 3 episodes, there will be a full story coming through that we've spent 6 building up to.
Yeah, this could have definitely been an intro arc. I will not argue that point at all.
I'm trying to think. I didn't understand the Mr. Immortal. Like just seeing it all, like any part of that story, like unless he's going to be a character in the future that we have and it's introducing that character, it just seemed like this point. Now, Ross, you did mention this is just to show the bonding moment between those two, and okay, I get that. That makes sense. At least that gives this scene some purpose. But do y'all think this is anything else, or was just strictly for that, for the bond of those two?
I think it was just strictly because, you know, apparently it's their superhero division or their whatever. So I mean, they're going to actually show clients that they're actually working with, and I think that was pretty much how. Felt like that's what was interjected.
Yeah.
Because you know, you brought Jennifer in here, and that's what she's working for. You know, because you already had Abomination, so that was the first one. Now you're showing, oh, there's some other ones that'll kind of trickle in.
All right. So we might see some throwaway characters, kind of like in The Boys. They have a lot of characters you see in the background with different powers. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
This is just meant to be a comedy. You know, the simple fact is just a rumor or not a rumor, but just funny how one dude thinks he can get away with all that kind of crap. Because I mean, if you give him the chance, you know someone's going to do it. So
yeah, this is true.
I will say that was an entertaining one. I mean, it was like I said, it's like another like cliche type thing where he's like, oh, I don't want confrontation because the whole 15 seconds of eye contact. No. Okay, we'll make it 20. I'm like,
yeah, so good. Just him running out of the window.
Anything else, but not 15 seconds of eye contact. No.
That was pretty funny watching him run and jump out the window. I was like, okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like I said, we'll see how this show ends up. There's nothing that says it can't finish strong. I want to see the story arc come together, and I'd like to see some kind of tie-ins to how it's going to be in the future in this bigger universe. But, you know, the thing is, I keep saying that, but this bigger universe is the shows. Like, it's not just everything tying into movies now. Like, the universe is so big, there could be shows that just don't really have anything to do with movies at all. And it's so big, it fits in there now.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So maybe I need to stop looking for that. Change my mindset of the way I'm looking for things. But anything else about She-Hulk? Because I know Cody is itching over there. Talk about some hot tea with us.
Yeah, I'm actually watching until next week.
I'm actually watching the last little bit of Rings of Power.
Okay.
I just finished that like not too long ago.
He's like, I need more time.
While you finish that, do you want us to talk about Lower Decks?
Yeah, we can knock that out.
Yeah, give me a little more time.
Cool. Well, if y'all are done with She-Hulk, let's go ahead and do
Can
that
we
then.
please?
Baby Bear.
What is Lower Decks?
It's
It's
an animated Star Trek. It's a Star Trek animated series that's
Oh.
funny as shit. You'd like it, dude. I mean, seriously, you would.
Okay, what's it
hilarious.
on?
Paramount.
Paramount.
Paramount. Okay.
Or all the Star Trek stuff is.
That's right. So hit me with it, Baby Bear. What's up? You're excited about this episode.
This episode was so damn funny. I mean, just Rutherford alone, which, I mean, that character just got announced, not even him, like the actor got announced that he's going to be like an actual staple in the next Loki series. So, I mean, like he's enjoying his time right now. But the whole double Rutherford situation was just so funny to watch how simple Rutherford and, I guess teen angst Rutherford, we'll put a little pissed off badass in there to sit there and watch them just fight and bicker back and forth. But the best part of the episode was Boimler, period.
Going
hands
Super
down,
Saiyan at the end.
going ape shit on everybody, flipping tables.
Oh, Boimler, I'm telling you.
Yes, listening to everything that he says. I mean, it was all the people that came to the table. And he's just like, without Starfleet, none of you would exist, and just goes ape shit. And I could totally relate. And I was sitting there the whole time like, yes, I feel your pain, and I would definitely punch motherfuckers in the face for you right now.
Yeah. That Rutherford situation was, for me, it was kind of like a Steve Urkel and Stefan Urkel situation. And you were looking at that, and I was like, oh, cool. I can relate to that. That's pretty funny. Yeah, Rutherford was great in this episode. This one was focused on him. They tend to do that with some of these episodes, is focus on different characters. But it was definitely focused on him, and I liked his story arc. I do love how whenever the alien's taking over his body, and he's or not taking over his body, his other personality's taking over his body, and he's trying to convince him that it's him, and he's like, golly gee, guys, shucks, and something like that. And he's like, they're never gonna believe me if you talk like that, you silly Billy, or something like that. And I was like, that's just perfect. The way they do that is perfect, and just keeps going on like nothing happened. Absolutely love it, man. The comedy in this show is so on point.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I just think it was funny because, like I said, it shows you that contrast of, it's like, was this really what Rutherford was like prior? And then, of course, kind of gave like a cyborg type vibe to where, oh, why are you like you are? It's like, how did you get to this point? So it's like, oh, cover up. Oh no. So it's not really the story that, you thought, face value. There's more to the story.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be an underground drug smuggling race wing.
Yeah, exactly. Those are some pimp ships, though. You got to admit. He came up with some really tight shit, though.
It was hilarious because Rutherford's ship he's like, it's just a troop carrier with a paint job.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
what was the other one? It was an engine with a seat strapped to it.
Yeah. You can create anything you can imagine, and you made a troop carrier with a paint job. Yeah, but it looks awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a sweet couch. I like the little call out. You had Beckett standing there at the table trying to be a good girl, and she's just like, come to Starfleet, get your Starfleet. We got new worlds. They're strange and they need seeking out. The archaeologist sitting there next to him, just pissing them off the whole entire time.
And there's the little thing at the end too, where Beckett has the doesn't delete the contact information for the archaeologist.
Keep that door open. You're just going to stick your foot in it real fast.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how that's the little bitty things that tie into the show that give you a little bit of a story arc to roll through as you're going through. Otherwise, it's just kind of just funny weekly episodes of what's going on with these guys. But yeah, I'm loving it. I cannot wait to see them live action.
Who's your favorite character on the show?
Boimler. Always makes me. I mean, they all always make me laugh, but probably Boimler. I mean, that's low hanging fruit, but yeah.
Sarah.
Oh, I like Dr. Katana.
She.
But then again, it's like I'm starting to like Tindy a lot more because it's like she's so like sweet and innocent, but yet she's got a little bit of backbone there. I mean, she's fought for a lot of stuff. It's hilarious.
She's coming into her own.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. But I mean, I love them all. I mean, everybody just has their own. I don't know. It's just hilarious. But it's just seeing the interaction between Beckett and Ransom now. It's like they're kind of like this. I mean, it's still they're still back and forth at each other, but I think there's like some level of respect. It's like, especially with Boimler after this episode, it's like, yeah, well, we're gonna have to throw you in the brig. Oh, I'm never in the brig before, but dude, you're gonna have to tell me your stories afterwards because that was so awesome. So he earned like so much street cred.
Yeah. Is the brig just like a force field in front of that room that he can't come out of, and everybody can just sit on the outside of that room and talk with him? So it's just like
it's like a little inset, like a little
you watch
alcove.
Into Darkness? You watch the new conflict?
Yeah,
I guess I just don't remember that part. Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Little alcove just has like
it seems silly for me that like it's almost like you're just like punished to your room, but everybody can sit outside and talk to you. Like it's just no big deal. It's not really. Even
yeah, you got 3 walls and 1 force field window.
Yeah.
I mean, besides Bold Boimler, I mean, I'll stick with Shax. I everything that comes out of that dude's mouth is hilarious. I love it.
I know he's either badass one minute or it's like, oh, I gotta be all touchy feely.
Yeah. The only other thing was, when I texted you guys and told you that Ready Room episode had that little talk with Tawny Newsome about the actual process of doing the crossover episode that's going to be coming at some point. Mm-hmm. And I'm just listening to her talk about it. I was like, oh, I can't wait. I want to see how weird this is going to get. So
it makes you wonder how far into comedy they're going to lead.
I think it's going to be twofold. So, on like the Strange New Worlds episode, they're going to be funny compared to like the rest of the crew, but seriously, they're probably not going to branch too far out. On the Lower Decks episode, I imagine that all the Strange New World characters that come into the animation world will just have the time of their life.
Yeah, so be hilarious. That makes sense.
So I don't know. I think it's totally awesome that they're doing it. And she said that she can't believe that even the idea got passed and approved. So
it's a great idea, though.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see the characters, like from especially like Pike or Spock or that kind of Pike. I wonder how tall his hair is going to be.
Johnny Bravo.
I hope it's
yeah. It's going to be Johnny Bravo.
It's just stupid.
Johnny Bravo is absolutely.
It's got to be. I mean, they have.
And dude, there might be an episode about it in like one of the episodes, or at some point they may talk about that.
No.
See, because on Lower Decks, that would give you opportunity to like that type subject matter. You can talk about that.
I wanted to go full on silly with that episode too, like Teen Titans Go silly. I
wanted to be like 3 episode funny, like carry it over, just keep it going.
Sorry if my dogs are fighting in the background. Y'all can hear that, but. Well, was there anything else about this one you want to bring up? It's hard to kind of go through these episodes. Like I said, they're short little 25-minute cartoons. Funny. I can't wait for this crossover. See these live action characters and see the live action characters as animated. It's going to be hilarious. Great idea. Anything in particular you want to bring up about this one that we haven't yet?
I think that's about it. I mean, like I said, this one was kind of short.
Right. If you're not watching it and you like Star Trek, you're missing out. Even if you don't like Star Trek, you're missing out.
I agree. Even if you don't like Star Trek, you can watch this show and have a good time. Because even without, like, I don't see all the Easter eggs and all the little things that y'all might see. I do see some. But even without that, the show's funny. Like, it's just written really well. Good on-time jokes that are funny. So,
yep.
All right, well, let's move on. Let's, Cody, you want to do some House of the Dragon, or are you still on watching Rings of Power?
You muted.
Yeah, that would help if I wasn't muted. I'm down to do whatever y'all want to do. I mean, I need to get better at making sure I watch this before I do the show with y'all. But if y'all want to talk Rings of Power, we can. I can. Like I said, I didn't care about spoilers last week. I still watched it, enjoyed the episode, so we can do that if y'all want.
How far?
It's however y'all want to do it.
How far
I'm over halfway.
Okay. Well, I definitely don't want to talk about.
It's fine. Don't do it. Whatever you want to talk about, it's fine.
Well, let's do it since it's fresh in your mind. Let's just talk.
Yeah.
Do you want to pause it, and then after we get done, you can get to completion with the Rings of Power?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know you want to talk about some House of the Dragon.
Oh, of course.
He wants to talk about his boy Damon.
Yeah, we definitely want to
talk about so many freaking things, dude.
All right. Well, let's get to it. Let's do Rings of Power, not Rings of Power out then, because I know House of the Dragon is going to be the bulk of it. Loving the show. Haven't seen anything about it so far that I didn't like. You get the interesting story with the Mithril in this episode. I didn't realize how important this stuff was. I'm interested to see where they're going to go with this in the future, but I feel like we're still being lied to by the Elven King.
Yeah, he's shady. There's a lot going on there. This dude is not like letting, and then the fact that he's trying to, I guess, guilt Elrond into. I'm like, dude, you just have this level here. I'm like, is the darkness already in you? I mean, what's going on here?
Well, here's the thing about this. This is one thing I didn't like is when you're asking somebody a question, and the question is yes or no. The answer is yes or no. And their response is not no.
Mm-hmm.
Then it has to be yes. So what's the point in driving the question home anymore? Like if somebody asks me something, the only answer is yes or no, and I'm just like, well, I promised I wouldn't tell.
That's the automatic yes right there.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing.
Otherwise, you would just say no, or you would just say, I don't know. Which in my mind, I was just like, why don't you just say, I don't know? You know? But I don't know. That was one part that I was looking at, and I was like,
I'm trying to bring logic in.
He's not a very good liar, you know? But I mean, I guess he does keep his word, you know? So, Elrond played young Ned Stark in Game of Thrones. I didn't know that. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's funny. I didn't even catch that.
But that dwarf was killing me, though. I love that dude. Every time he's in,
Durin,
he
Durin
steals the seat because he's like, what did you say?
Yeah.
He said, whose hands? I'm like, oh, dude, you are like so just living this right
on
now.
top of the table thing after.
Yes.
That. I mean, like it was already on top of what he did. But
I love his Scottish accent.
Yeah, you got the Scots there, then you have the Harfoots that are what, Irish?
Bloody brilliant.
I gotta get my beard on his level though, for real. Like I want to step on my beard.
So are we just like kind of jumping around here? Like
no particular order.
Okay.
Just
Actually, let's start at the beginning. What was with the witch and the warrior and the maiden thing? Like,
yeah, that was one of those things where I was like, am I supposed to know who they are? Am I supposed to know this?
I mean, she looked. Man, there's a horror movie, not really horror, but like a thriller movie, and it reminded me of a character from that. And I'm like, this does not fit in this world. Like whatever I'm seeing right now is like very just out of place at the moment until like I get comfortable with it. And they did not bring the character back in this episode to actually let me get comfortable with it. So
there was a lot of weird, like the way characters were placed in this episode. Hell, throughout the whole thing, it's like, you just see like flashes or it's just like you're here, and then it's like, am I supposed to know this? Are we going to come back to this? I mean, I gotta pay attention.
I mean, because like no one forecasted their moves. Like no one's like, I'm going to go here, and then 2 scenes later they're over there.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
I'm gonna have to go back and start this episode over again while we're talking about it, because I don't know what you're talking about, the witch and the warrior.
It was the very beginning, because when you have the unknown guy that's with the Harefoots,
The stranger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the stranger, and he had this. Was it after that he did the Hulk pound?
Oh, yeah, I do remember seeing
because
the
it was like
Hulk
a flashback to
right.
where they found him when he was like in that fire pit, and then these three went to that spot, and they were like, or it was, there was a lot going on. There was a lot going on.
So do we know who, like, J-Subs put Gandalf? But then again, like, Tim Tizzy was like, no, that's not him. That's a different age.
Yeah. I don't think Gandalf comes to the third age. So
I'll tell you this. Out of every character on the show, he's the one that intrigues me the most. Just because the air of the mystery around him. Mm-hmm. Now these people are following him. And they seem to have charted somehow via the stars, like where the dude landed. And they're clearly looking for him. He clearly holds some type of great importance in the show. And then it's like he doesn't even know what's going on. Like
he's still learning. It's like he's still
Yeah.
learning.
And that part, he's sitting there with his hand in the water, and the little girl, I'm so bad with names, but she comes up and she like grabs onto his arm, and it turns her hand into ice.
Yeah.
And then it like blows her back and everything. And you can kind of tell that he didn't really mean to do it. And he's like, oh shit, now she's scared of me. But I just find like in every character of the show, the one that I'm wanting more from is actually that storyline and the Harfoots and like kind of what's going on with them, because they seem so secondary to the story on its surface. But it's not going to be that way.
Well, that's so funny you say that, because that is the story that I'm like the absolute least concerned with. Like I
Really?
could just care, and it's why I didn't like the Hobbit series. I think like I could just care less, or couldn't care less about that story. And I
But
get
it's not
it's a
necessarily
part
the
of it and everything.
Hobbits, but more so like him. Like I'm interested in him.
Okay.
Like he
Okay.
very clearly is going to have an important role to play, but it's like you don't know in which way. Like you don't know if he's good or bad. Like it seems as though the people following him are bad and have some bad intentions. Like kind of from the way that they looked, they just presented themselves very ominously. But like I don't know, maybe his memory was wiped, and maybe he was doing something terrible beforehand that he just doesn't know. Like maybe my theory is that those are his followers, and something happened to like wipe his memory, and now they're trying to get back to him. I don't know if that's true. That's just my little assessment of the thing. But
yeah, I mean, you're not far off from everything that I've pieced together so far on this show, especially with the introduction of, now the decay of the elves and how all of this is going to play in. It seems like the time of elven power and reign is slowly dwindling down with this decaying factor that they're introducing. And so if the whole sign of that is brought on by the stranger who is going to be bad, then, it's funny that they would choose the Harfoots to be like the vessel to tell that story of the stranger, because he doesn't know who he is yet, and he's trying to figure it out. And so he's with the most simple, easygoing little bunch of people that you could come across in the show. So, I can only imagine that that's going to have like a drastic, like, oh shit moment once, you figure out who he is, and then you're like, he's been rolling around with these, extremely non-powerful beings, and he has all this power. So it definitely feels like this is a great episode 5. I think it's a great episode 5 because I think it's starting to definitely, I felt evolution without them forcing it on the story. We get to see the boats in Numenor and Galadriel and Elendil and Isildur and like all those people ramping up for their little campaign that they're going to do. But the real story was in the background of the Mithril, the decay of the elves, and now seeing the stranger actually learning. He's not just completely dumbstruck at the moment. So
Right. I don't know how much I believe this story of the decay of the elves, to be truly honest with you. I don't trust the Elven King just based on what I've seen, the way the character looks, but I think he's made to look like you're not supposed to trust him, so I don't know if it's throwing me off. He may just be wiser than me. But I don't trust this story because nobody has mentioned anything about this before. Like, there's no way no other elf knew about them decaying. I think this has something to do with getting the power to make the rings. Like, it's all there is to it. Like, for me, especially when they mention that there's the light and the dark down there, so you can make both rings with this. I mean, like, it all seems like it's making sense in that manner to me. So I feel like we're seeing a little bit of a lie from the Elven King here, and I don't know. We're gonna find out what happens, because I hate that Elrond even like tells me, he's like, I deceived you. And he's like, I didn't know I was doing it, or like, I lied to you. So I didn't know that I was, but I did. And I'm like, well, yeah, but like, don't say you lied to him. Then let him know you were tricked into doing this. Like, you didn't lie to him. Like, it's just, I didn't like the wording of that
by two people. Not just the king, but that other dude, Celebrador or Celebraball or whatever.
Father's friend, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the
I mean, like that whole
elders.
entire thing is just, at some point you gotta be like, all right, y'all can fool me once, but shit, twice, no.
I say a story that I'm really interested in is the elf. What is Andorir and Andron and
Arondir.
Arondir, that's his name. I can't remember his name. That sounds right. I'm interested in this story because now he has the hilt, and I'm not sure, is this Sauron's hilt for his sword? And this is almost what's calling them, almost like the ring does in the previous movie. So there's a part of Sauron in this sword, right? Mm-hmm. And we do get to see this storyline with the old man who's been infected by it as well. We don't ever see what happened, but what do y'all think happened there? Because they cut away, we never see the old man again.
Oh, Walter, that's what you're talking about? The bar guy or the meat cleaver dude from the town?
Yeah.
I would assume that he's used to cutting meat, so I think that little poor boy's down for the count.
Mm-hmm.
Pledging his.
I want to know more about that guy. I guess the orcs call him a father.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Adar, however you say it.
Because that dude is. I'm like, what?
Dude, the moment when they're standing out in the sun, he's like, I can feel this. It's like a, he's like the one vampire who can stand out in the sun, and the rest of them are just all with homeboy's arm just sitting there frying. He's just like, how does it feel? And then he's talking about, I'm gonna miss it. Darkness is coming. I'm gonna miss it. And he's just sitting there frying like bacon on a pan. I'm like, what
loyalty, man. That's what that is. Straight up loyalty. How many rings were given to the elves in the opening of the Lord of the Rings? I don't remember, to be truly honest with you. I should, but I don't remember.
Got my specialty. Sorry.
I want to say 3.
I would say more than Tom Brady, less than the whole entire NFL.
There you go. Covers a wide span there. Right. Well, what else?
I have kind of a different kind of question. To this point in the show, through 5 episodes, and I'll say this: episode 4 and 5 were my favorite of the bunch. Like, I think these episodes that kind of were like, okay, now I'm more interested now than I was before, right? But to this point, who's everyone's favorite character and who's their least favorite character? Because this show has a lot of different characters and like a lot of different storylines for you to be able to grasp onto. So who would you say your favorite and your least favorite is at this moment? Like, who are you wanting to see more from? And is there any character that like causes you to roll your eyes when I'm on the screen?
I'm gonna let y'all take that, and I'm gonna go stop my dog from barking. Come back and answer that.
All right, yeah.
I'll be the first one to say. Galadriel. Every time she walks in with her, just this shirt, I'm like, lady, you stop it. Stop it.
Yes, ditto.
I mean, it's like everything is so like just severe and stark, and we have to do it right now. And I swear, if I heard the word fight one more time.
Yeah. And I also feel like every time Galadriel is on screen, the direct purpose is to show everyone how badass she is. Mm-hmm. Like at every moment, she's the most badass. She can kick your ass. She will, march forward in the face of danger and everything. Like when she leaves her jail cell and there's all those guards and she just messes them all up and locks them in the cell and then goes to find the queen or whatever. I kind of, those are the moments that kind of make me like, okay. But, But
that fight scene in this episode, which I don't know if you made it to the fight scene yet, Cody.
So but the one where probably the one you're talking about, the one where she's like training
whoever wins gets to become lieutenant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, so I equate her out to be like kind of like I guess you'd have like oldest child syndrome, to where you feel like you have to be in charge of everything because she's been around for years on end and she's seen all of this shit happen and she has all the experience. And luckily for her, she is badass with like fighting and surviving. So that part does get annoying because you're like, stop being serious for 5 damn seconds. Like, calm
Well,
down.
And also, you've got all these humans, or the men are like, oh, damn elves, we're not following them. I'm like, well, this is the reason why. I mean, you're kind of giving them the reason why.
True, but you're also not putting people like Elrond out there to actually talk to men, whereas
that's true,
the other
but
side of the coin. So
yeah, but this situation, she is actually the one that so
the face,
Right.
yeah,
the face behind the ears.
yes.
Well, we're still going through favorites. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Was that your least favorite, Sarah?
Who's that?
I mean, it's just I wouldn't say least favorite. I think
Galadriel?
probably just the more like ease up. It's like I'm always on edge when she comes to a scene. I'm just like, it's about to, and like I said, totally different from Elrond, because he's like so chill. Even in like tense situations, he still finds a way of like easing it out to where it's not like fight. But I mean, he's not a soldier.
Yeah.
So you also forget, to Ross's point, you forget that they're hundreds of years old or whatever, that they've been through so much because they look so young. And I did think that was a nice touch. It was like, this isn't even this episode, it was a few episodes ago. They're like, hey, the workforce that you're competing with, if it's going to be elves, they don't get tired, they don't age, they don't need to eat. All this other crap is like, hey, dude. It's like they're being automated out of a job,
and they'll bang your great grandmother and not even tell you about it until years later.
The same token as well, sitting at the table, the king, he was making, saying this, and Elrond stepped up and said, okay, what you might think was a second, that could have been a lifetime for someone, for another race. So let's be a little more, he's kind of like, let's kind of think beyond ourselves for just a moment.
Yeah.
All right, well, who's your favorite, Sarah?
I don't know. I mean, I've got quite a few storylines I'd like to, follow. I mean, I like Elrond. Because I'm interested to see how because right now I feel like he's a pawn. So I'm like, when are you going to step up and just kind of, handle whatnot? The stranger, that's another one. I want to kind of know what's going on with him. And then of course in the orc dude, I'm like, what's, I want to know why are you so important? That's what I want to know. Why are you so important?
Okay.
I would I'm gonna try and get the names. I think it's Isildur, the young guy who ends up getting his buddies kicked off the boat.
Mm-hmm.
I like him, and I feel like I'm liking how they're trying to build this redemption arc for him. Like he's kind of like a fuck up, for lack of a better word. Like he's a good intention. He's well meaning, but trouble just kind of seems to follow him.
Do you know his importance in the story of Lord of the Rings?
I know the name, but no, I do not. It's been such a.
He's the one who cuts the finger off Sauron in the actual battle. And takes
okay. Yeah, dude, it's been so long since I've seen Lord of the Rings. I might need to check those out again just because it's been so long.
Always a good rewatch.
Yeah, for sure.
But who are you saying? I'm sorry, you said that he's one of your favorites.
Yeah, like he's one of the ones I'm like most excited to see where they take his story. Like he's the character that I feel like, you're always trying to find someone to identify with a little bit. Like if I was living in this world, I feel like I could something just do it.
Yeah,
makes sense.
Going against the grain a little bit.
What about least favorite?
Yeah. I think me and Sarah kind of agree. Mine as of right now is Galadriel, just because as a character she seems so much like a trope. Like I was just telling them, every time she's on the screen, it's like the directors have a direct intent to always be letting you know how badass she is. Like, hey, she can kick ass, right? Let me show you how. And it kind of feels like there's almost a little too much of that. But it's not terrible, but she's just probably my least favorite. And then the stranger, just because there's so much mystery surrounding him. Like the orc dude, I know that he's bad. I don't know why he's bad or how he's like, I don't know everything about him, but I kind of know what the deal with him is. Whereas the stranger, he could be any number of things. Like he could be some legendary ancient power for good, or some, amnesic leader of some death cult. So as far as I know,
Yeah.
it's like he runs the gamut of possibilities. So yeah, I'm interested in that one too.
Okay. I think me and Ross will probably have one of the favorite ones be the same. I just got an idea. But what do you think, Ross?
I like 3 characters, and they're all
Mhm.
3 different ones.
Mhm.
Durin.
Yep. There you go.
Who can't like Durin?
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
Just the way that he comes off pissed off is so great. And I love I liked the dwarves in the Lord of the Rings series, but they definitely carried a crutch. They had a chip on their shoulder, and much of that I can respect. I like Nori because she's just a fun little Harfoot running around doing stupid shit like a kid. I like it's the innocence, I guess, I like about that. And then the one that I didn't think that I was going to like, which I'm really liking more of, and not just because of the end scene, but is Halbrand, however you want to say his name, the would-be king. Mainly because he's got a chip, but he's figuring his stuff out slowly. So I like a good redemption story, and if he comes back to redeem man a little bit, I think it'd be interesting. So
I'm right there with you with Durin. That's one of my favorite characters. I like Elrond. I think the character, the guy that got to play this part is perfect, and I love the back and forth between those two. It's just very much like Legolas and Gimli, and I think that's what they're trying to represent, or Gimli, and that's what they're trying to represent there. And I guess if I had to pick a third that see, this is where I kind of differ a little bit. I like Galadriel. I like this storyline we're going, but I love the tie-in. It's more nostalgic for me. I love the whole tie-in background.
Yeah,
of it. So
that's true.
It's a little different with that for me. And where I differ is I don't like Adar, the character, the elf. It reminds me of like Malakath, whatever from the second Thor movie,
Dark World,
and the Dark World, and Spock mixed together, and he's a very one-note character. Like maybe I just haven't seen enough of him yet, and that could be the thing. But so far for me, it's one of those ones where I'm just like, I mean, it did kind of interest me how pissed off he got when that guy thought that he was Sauron, and it's like, well, how
just because I wear this glove, does that mean that I am Sauron?
It makes me wonder why he got pissed off about that. But for me, that character, she's just too one note. But maybe I haven't seen enough of him yet. It's a new character for me.
But that's what's so cool about this is because there's so many different characters, and it's not the fact that you don't like any of them. It's just there's so much going on, and each one has, like I said, there's just so much going on. There's so many stories, but it's working. It's not neither one's taking away from the other. Nothing's really like overwhelming, but eventually it's all going to tie in together.
Yeah,
you can just see that weaving in process.
Oh, very Lord of the Rings style. Yes. Yeah.
I'll tell you who I hate, and that's that
Much
damn
different
High
stories.
King. They can weave his ass out of that story. Is what they can do.
The what?
That dude can die choking on a hard elf ear. I don't know. Like I hate him. I don't like him.
Which one?
The High King.
Oh
Elven
yeah,
King.
he's super shady. He is super shady.
I don't know why. Just like you guys are bringing it up right off the bat, and you said it too. But I mean, like the whole point is that I'm probably not supposed to like him because of his face, and I didn't the first time I saw it, so I'm sticking with that thought.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the Queen of Numenor at first, but as her story progressed and I learned a little more about her, I'm liking the character a lot more. So yeah, that character works for me now. Maybe it's because she turned to the side that I wanted to be on, that I eventually knew she would go to anyway. But yeah, that
But
character's
also,
working
can
for me
y'all
a little better
explain
now.
to me like kind of what's happening whenever she's having the visions of the tree and the petals are flying, and then the waves come crashing in? Like, is she having like a Targaryen-esque like prophetic vision right there?
Yes.
Similar to that, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
The tree is a gigantic thing. So when the leaves fall off the tree, even they mentioned it in that later on in that episode,
Yeah.
and it was like the tears falling from. I can't remember what they said explicitly right now, but her seeing that vision of the water crushing and then didn't Galadriel see it also whenever she touched the
When she
scene?
touched the sea and stone, yeah.
Yeah.
So all of that was kind of telling, foretelling a Targaryen style vision, but at the same time, whenever it was coming possible, like they were down the path of it being an actual possibility, that's when the queen was trying to oust Galadriel from Numenor.
Right.
And so that's when she flipped at the very end and was like, we're all going to go to Middle Earth and go have a party now, brave downtown.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Isildur's stowaway mission. So he's getting there regardless. And I thought they were going to do the stowaway thing. I was like, oh, it's kind of crazy. And they give him a whole different story arc. Do you think that there's going to be something between him and this guy now? Because now they both have a secret for each other that who's going to tell first type deal. Because he could have ratted him out there at the end.
Is it Farazan? Is that the dad's name? The pimp character that's walking around Numenor?
That's the one guy I really don't like either. That guy. I couldn't remember his name, but I don't like that guy.
Yeah, is that the guy with the beard and the salt and pepper hair?
Yeah.
When he tells, he's definitely mob boss, because when he tells people to get out of the room, they get out of the room.
Yeah.
He didn't. He just looked at him, dude. He didn't say a word. He just how about the one around the corner? He just looked and did. I'm like, okay, that's top tier right there.
That's power.
Yep.
Kingpinish.
But the fact that his son is trying to, I guess force his hand really is
kind
what
of
he's
usurp,
doing.
Almost.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like, you spent your whole life trying to tell me one thing, and now you're trying to play a game.
Mm-hmm.
And you think that playing this game is going to get us farther ahead. Whereas he tells his son, like, you're stupid because you don't have foresight and you need vision in this world to carry on. And that goes right over the kid's head, because all he wants to do is just, set the world on fire.
Which is crazy that he was going to do that. Why would this ship have that much oil on it?
That was booze, man. That's the thing about the past.
That makes
you
sense.
think about how fast all these
You
people
carry
get drunk,
water.
and
Carry
all
wine.
that stuff is foolproof.
That makes sense. Okay. It's all coming together now.
Yeah.
But
I don't know, that little twist is going to be fun, because that's going to be definitely like a backstabbing moment. Someone's going to cross somebody, and I don't know if there's going to be an agreement between Isildur and, for the life of me, I can't remember the kid's name, but
did he go on the trip to Middle Earth? That kid? I don't think he did he?
I don't think so.
probably not.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, something can come into play with it in the future, or maybe nothing. We're just digging in too deep. I do like that Isildur's finally on the ship, and it's he's scrubbing the stables. He's got to clean the stables now. Very funny. I do like he's like you can have a shot. What's it going to take? You can have a shot, jaw or gut, and he gives them one of each. Pretty good.
You have one shot. 3. All right, 2. Boom, boom.
Yeah,
I don't know. The table part with Durin was the best part, I thought, in this episode. I thought it was absolutely hilarious how he talked him out of it.
Yeah,
I thought he was dead serious.
Yeah, no, he sold it perfectly. I thought that the whole little moment was just funny. Maybe because I thought that table was pretty badass, and that you see everyone with all these fantastic woodworking tables. That then you got one that's made out of solid stone, and he's just like, to my ancestors, this is. And like he should have just gotten an Emmy. Like it would have been just. There you go. There's your moment.
And then he just has to dig a little deeper. He has to dig a little deeper when the elves are taking it, and then they about fall. He's like, "Oh, it's not that heavy."
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, he's definitely the comic relief of this show or this series. But I guess I relate with dwarfs more than anything. I like to hit things, short-tempered, short.
Do you pull stuff out of your beard too?
Huh? I pull all kinds of stuff out of my beard, dude. All kinds of stuff. I'm telling you, the worst is like when an ant gets in there. It's horrible. Yeah. When it was longer, like I had it down to like my middle of my chest, like last year or 2 years ago. Like I pulled a spider out of it, and that was what made me shave it. And I was like, yeah, it's time to.
No!
I don't know how long spiders been there, but
I don't have that problem, unfortunately.
My soul would leave my body.
I would imagine he had just gotten in there, and I noticed that he's just gotten in there. I don't imagine he was burrowed in there, but either way, it was not pleasant. I mean, hey,
Get a spray and a lighter, man.
This
Just
one's-
torch it all off.
this one's going until the Panthers win the Super Bowl. So,
Oh, dude, you will be tripping
Oh,
on that one.
is
Oh,
it?
dude, you'll be your beard will make the orange look.
You're gonna be pulling
ridiculous.
beard hair out your belly
how
button. Is
about
what
this?
you're gonna be doing.
This one's going until the Panthers win 6 games in one season.
It's still gonna get long.
I may still be a year or 2 away from that. So,
Still might be,
well, what else, y'all? Anything else y'all want to bring up about Rings of Power? I mean, it's fantastic show, and they're getting longer and longer. This one's like an hour and 19 minutes.
Yeah, that's just
That was
one
good.
thing I'll give them. Like every episode is over an hour. It
Mhm.
seems like. So if you're loving this show, you know every time you get a new episode, it's a
But it
beautiful-
didn't feel that long. This episode didn't feel that long.
It's because it's not filler content. It's all like interesting and important.
But I
Dude,
will
you
say,
really
the very
have to be.
final scene. I was like, I want to go too. I want to go. Come on, let's go. Let's get me on that boat. I'm ready to go. I mean, because it was like, woohoo, yeah. And
Especially with all those costumes.
But I mean, it's gorgeous. I mean, all the scenery, everything. I mean, it's even the yucky part. You know, when they're with the Harfoots are like trudging through. I'm like, you really gonna pull that little wagon through all that swamp shit? Okay, whatever. But I mean, it was just still. I mean, it's just tremendous the imagery that these shows.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't expect any less.
Right. But they spent $1 billion on it, so they better. There is, and I'll agree with you, everything so far has looked spectacular. There is one scene, I beg y'all to go back and watch this scene again and see if you don't agree. Maybe you didn't notice it the first time, where the background and everything just looks so fake. It looks like a PBS special. It's the scene where Durin and Elrond are talking together, and he's like, the future of the entire elven race is in your hands. And they're sitting on that rock. Just take a moment and focus on like the background and the leaves. It looks like those fake paper leaves that you get at like the craft stores or the Dollar General, you know? And like I'm looking at it, I'm like, that looks really bad.
Maybe
for
they
this show.
had to save it. They had to save, you know.
We'll cut it right here and hope nobody
Yeah, well,
notices.
this right here is not as grand.
Yeah.
We can get this by. It'll be
I
fine.
don't know why. Just for some reason, that specific scene, it stood out to me, and I was like, man, it looks fake. It looks so fake. Everything else looks so good, but this looks so fake. But I
They
don't know.
spent all their money on Galadriel fight scenes.
Well,
I mean, she was right. That woman's sexy with a sword. I mean, that was like art.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Just-
she's definitely gorgeous too, man. She's
And how do you
she's
fight
great.
with all that hair? I don't get it. I don't
I
get
don't
it.
know.
I mean, I've had long hair before. No, it'd be everywhere.
well, all superhero females except for Captain Marvel have long hair now, don't they? Just about. There's some of them I couldn't. Look, I haven't had to deal with hair in years, so I couldn't tell you to do anything with hair. I have no idea.
And this is brought to you by Keeps.
I don't understand. I wish I could take some of this ability to grow this beautiful, beautiful beard here and just put it back on my head. It'd be great. I would look like
Everything's
5
migrated
years
down.
younger. Yeah.
Migrated
But
down.
Yep. Anything else? Rings of Power? It's really good show.
I am gonna say something that's just gonna be controversial with the people who do watch both of these shows. I was giving it a while before I was really fully on board with it, and I think that House of Dragons to me is more interesting of the show at the moment.
Mm.
And I was only gonna say, I think where I'm really pulling that from is all of the history with Game of Thrones, it not being that long ago, and there's just something about the way that they're able to create drama.
Mhm.
And as much as I like and know where the story of Rings of Power is going, I don't get the same vibe.
I hear.
They're both great, and they both piss me off to no end learning all of the characters' names. I can't tell you how much joy I find in that moment that I have before I have to recall their names, because I don't think about it, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, now I have to remember 11,000 people's names.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And not just
so-
normal us nowadays names, like totally different names than we would
Oh,
ever name
no.
people. Yeah.
like double consonants, some weird shit. I don't even know, like
Mm.
whatever. Either way, I am enjoying Rings of Power, but House of the Dragon it's There's only one thing that I have a problem with on House of the Dragon.
Ooh,
And
problem.
it's not a massive one. It's the time
Okay.
jumps. I don't mind the time jumps. I just wish that they found a way to tell us in a much better way than they are. Because something that Game of Thrones didn't have until it reached like season 6 were the massive time jumps.
Right.
Yeah.
And season 6 changed everything in Game of Thrones with that feeling of not keeping the same pace as the previous 5 seasons. In something like Rings of Power, I don't have a problem with it because I can kind of get on board and I can pick up on their little remarks. And House of Dragons trying to do it also, to where they mention, Aegon on a second name day, so it's, at least 2 years and 9 months later than, the previous episode. But at the same time, you're also just, why wouldn't you make a bigger point to try to tell that? And I know the next episode is going to spring forward even more.
Yeah,
but-
is this where they change actors?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So,
Well, let's hop into it. Let's do House of the Dragon. So go ahead, Cody. Get him.
but yeah. So no, I mean, if anything, I agree with Ross. But some context behind it, though. I believe I said this on the last show. I don't remember. You have to look at this entire season 1 as a prologue, because that is really what it is. Like, once you read the story, the main chunk of the story we haven't even gotten to yet. So I can't confirm this, but I do imagine that probably around season 2 they're going to do away with the time jumps because they won't need them anymore. Like, they have so much that they have to present to you first to understand the buildup of what leads to this thing that's going to happen. And so much happens at different points in their lives. So, like, as we've all seen, a lot of important things happen to Rhaenyra when she's younger. A lot of things happen when she's older as well. So you kind of have to balance that line of how do you tell that? And I think they've done a good job, all things considering. This next time jump is going to be 10 years. So you're going to be introduced to a bunch of brand new characters, some brand new sons, daughters. It's getting ready to go off. And my
The
final
name
point
knowledge
now,
is about to grow.
yeah. So my final point, then I want to hear y'all talk about it more. If you notice this episode, so this is my favorite episode of the season. Everything about it, dude, I freaking loved. I loved the Alicent and her trajectory, because in this episode, Alicent changed forever. Like, Alicent went from being a little girl who was kind of, her father wanted her to go and be with the king, and she's kind of done what she's told. But after that moment where Otto Hightower hugs her and says, listen, you better make your son the king, or she's going to put your children to the sword. And feel in her performance that she's like, oh, this is different. Like, I'm in the middle of something that I didn't know how big the stakes were. And it finally dawns on her. And the transformation that happens to her at the end of the episode, absolutely beautiful. But the point I wanted to make is that other than the very end, this episode has no fighting. There's no violence. The episode is so good just based on the character interactions and the dialogue and the things that they're saying and the drama that's implied within it. It's fantastic, man. I love it so much.
Oh yeah, hop in there, Sarah.
Oh my God, where do we start? First of all, I just have to say, Sir Kristen folded like a lawn chair.
Oh, so
I'm
good.
like, dude, what is wrong with you? I had to get that out because I'm just like, really, dude? She didn't even say, and you're just like, I did it. Yes, I did it. Okay. But Damon, this dude, I mean, he is just love him, hate him.
Start at the beginning with Damon.
Yeah.
Yes,
We
we've
should
been
The
asking
very
about his wife.
beginning.
let's do that.
Yes.
Remember a couple of weeks ago, I asked Greg, I'm like, oh, interesting. Greg, you think he's a bad guy. And it turns out you were fucking right, dude. like this. And I've seen some interesting fan theories about it, but like a lot of people are like, well, technically, he didn't. He put his hand on the horse, and then the horse falls backward, and that's what paralyzes her. And so he didn't actually like push her over. He didn't like do anything. Like, she kind of backed up and went for her bow, but then she falls on the ground, breaks her back, and it's kind of implied that Damon's gonna leave her there, which is fucked up in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
But then she chastises him. She's like, "I always knew you couldn't finish," and it's like, "Oh, word? Oh, for real? All right then."
He
Let's
has so many
Yep.
hold my beer moments. It's not even
Yep.
funny. I mean, it's
But
like, oh,
you could almost look at it as maybe he's putting her out of her misery. But I don't know. Either way, the dude bludgeoned his wife to death, and that's pretty freaking hardcore, dude.
I'm glad they didn't show it. Let's put it that way.
Putting her out of
So-
her misery. That's good.
It was funny because I know you'd mentioned last week, you were like, oh, next week you get to see his wife, because we hadn't seen his wife. We just heard about it, we hadn't seen
Yeah.
her at all. And then like you see the scene, the beginning of the scene, I'm like, okay, cool, we get to see his wife. And then it was that short lived, and I was like, oh, well, there
you
goes
saw
his
her.
wife. So he fixed that problem. So
Cody, she reminded me of the girl that helped get Bran to the wall. The girl with the brother.
Yeah.
That's who she reminded me of. I can't remember her name. But when I saw her face, I'm like, holy crap, like that looks just like her. That's so weird.
Yeah, Mira Reed. Mira Reed is her name.
And
Yeah.
so I was taken aback by that, number one. But yeah, like number two, the fact that there was nothing wrong with that woman. And not only was there nothing wrong with that woman, she was a badass.
Mhm.
She's out there like hunting and just having, is showing the men what's up pretty much is what I got out of that, just that little bit that they showed of her. So
Yeah.
Damon just needs that blonde hair, apparently.
Well, Cody, you had mentioned earlier that Allison has gone through such a change in this episode, and like she's a big focus of two huge scenes in this. And like you got to go through. There's the one where she's losing her father, and because she believed in what her friend says. And the thing about this is, that her father wasn't lying, but you also know that her father's not a good guy. So it's like,
Right.
but she's lost her father because she knows this, and then she finds out from the new person who took her father's place, correct, that she got the day after pill drink. I guess.
Oh,
so
she found out from his son, Larry's
Okay.
Clubfoot.
Okay.
Yeah, and Larry's Club. And by the way, like, okay, I just gotta be honest, right? Like, as someone who is disabled myself, I do love that Game of Thrones puts the disabled people in their shows, and that they'll put dwarfs in their shows, and they're not just some side character either. Like, dude, the Clubfoot, oh, he is a main character going forward. Like, this dude is quite literally, like, you see him starting shit, like the way he up to her and is like, oh, I just heard Rhaenyra had some moon tea brought to her the other night. Like, he's so obvious in the way that he that he goes about it. But yeah, so that guy, the new hand of the king, has two sons, and both of those guys are going to play very, very, very important roles going forward, including the older one too. Like in this episode, when you see the dad nod at the guy, and then he goes into the crowd and starts throwing dudes. Well, that's Harwin Strong, and he's supposed to be like the strongest dude in the realm. Like, he's a tank. He's just and he's not really a big guy from the actor's perspective, but yeah, those two guys are going to be very important going forward in a very big way.
But yeah, I mean, you almost got a feel for her at that moment, when she discovers this, and then like she never addresses it with Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
In this episode. So I wonder if that's coming in the future. We're taking a 10-year jump. So I don't know. Do we know how many actors
This
are
is
getting
what
replaced?
the Game of the Thrones is all about.
Yeah.
The shit stirring.
It seems like everybody has their own plans for what the future is going to be with the throne.
Sowing
Yeah.
seeds.
Yeah.
Sowing seeds.
It's
Yeah.
pretty fun. But
And,
y'all were talking about the time jumps earlier, and there's been small time jumps so far, so it hasn't really bothered me as much. But like, it's very similar to like The Witcher. Man, The Witcher threw me off so much because Henry Cavill doesn't age in that show,
Yeah.
so which makes the time jumps even more
Or
difficult in
period.
that show. But yeah, that was another one right there that the time jumps just blew me away. I didn't know what was happening. And Cody, I know I've got the Book of Blood and Fire, and then I got Ice and Fire too. But I'm gonna do Blood and Fire first. Somebody was telling me, was it you or somebody else was saying that this entire series is only like 3 chapters in that book?
yeah, it's like 4 or 5 chapters in the book, and
Yeah,
that's
so there's so much
it.
more to it because it's like a
So much.
29-hour book, audio book.
Yeah.
It's a long audio book.
So I kind of think House of the Dragon is going to be an anthology series. So
Okay.
they're going to have this version of the show, which is going to show this part of the Targaryen dynasty. But I think they're also going to do more House of the Dragon in the future with other Targaryen kings and kind of show a lot of the stuff that happens. Because again, there's 300 years of Targaryen rule
Right.
in Westeros. So there's so much that happens around, everything. And it's probably going to continue to go forward a lot.
So can somebody explain to me what happens at the end? Like, it looks like Daemon and Rhaenyra are about to kiss in the middle of the dance floor, just right there in front of everybody. And then it gets blocked out, and then all of a sudden this group comes in and attacks.
Oh, no group came in. One man came in. One man with 2 wrecking balls came in. So the whole entire scene. Let's start. Let's backtrack because you got to build up to that moment. The show did a really good job of that. And
Okay.
you got the king traveling to what is
Driftmark.
Corliss's? What's it called?
Corlys Valerian and Driftmark. That's his.
Yeah. So, just the disrespect of that whole entire scene, it was amazing. Because once again, to like everyone's point, Cody especially, when you're talking about the throne hurts a weak king. Here's this weak king yet again being treated like he doesn't belong as king, because when he didn't decide to help Corlys, the sea snake, it all turned into a massive war, and now he has zero respect for the king. Now the king is trying to wed Rhaenyra and his son together. His son ends up being gay, and she doesn't want to have anything to do with him anyway. So like that whole marriage of circumstance works out for the 2 of them.
Right.
Now, you get further on into the episode where Sarah's point, when Alicent was confronting Kristen, that whole scene was just, number 1, it was really uncomfortable. Number 2, I mean, like, I don't know, like, I was liking Kristen this whole show up to that point. I think that, it says a lot about his integrity, but at the same time, it's like, hey man, like, at some point you might not want to die. And if you don't want to die, you should probably keep your mouth shut. Because you can, once again, back to your logic point, Greg, you can say yes and no, but at the same time, you can get around saying yes by saying 30,000 other things, even though they mean yes. And that pretty much takes you to more or less to the throne room, right? Or wherever they were at for the hall.
Yeah, because they have 7 days of tournaments and whatever else, celebrations, and then they're going to have the wedding at the end. And I'm assuming it just fast forwards to that 7th day. And this is
no. So what had happened? What had happened was, first off, Damon shows up, looking pimp. Like, where's my chair? Get my chair.
The whole room stops every time he walks in. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, because he's not really invited. We know how it is. It's like that one member of your family shows up, and it's like no one likes him. Why is he here?
Yeah.
So even after that, it was waiting on the queen. So you got Viserys, who's already starting to give his little opening speech because he's like, I'm not going to wait on this woman forever. And then all of a sudden, the woman in the show who doesn't want to be seen or heard, who wants to be quiet and meek and small, decides where she's going to flip that damn coin. And now that she thinks that everyone's against her, just decides to rule the room. to stop the king mid-speech, to force everyone to stand up and be quiet. She walks in wearing the house color, that means war. Not only all of that, she gets to the very front, and then what does she say to Rhaenyra?
Something like "Hello, my
stepdaughter."
stepdaughter."
She calls her stepdaughter.
Yeah. And it was just like, I mean, she just needed to like raise her hand and be like, "I don't." You get a fresh one too.
Not
I'm
right
telling
now.
you, you better
That's
sit
right.
down and calm down. With all of that stuff, the one thing that caused the fight was I don't remember. Oh my lord, what is it? Laenor? What is Laenor's lover's name?
Joffrey Lonmouth.
Joffrey. All right, so he's the one that ends up going and figuring out that Kristen is the love interest of Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
And so when he does that, he confronts him. Kristen doesn't want to say anything, and then next thing you know, whenever was it Laenor and Rhaenyra were dancing? Was that the scene? Were they dancing first, and then he jumped them?
Yeah, so it was about to go to Harwinstrong, and then Daemon jumps in.
Yeah, I think Damon was the one dancing when they started fighting.
Damon starts dancing with it. And then, like, I love how Rhaenyra shit talks Daemon.
Yes.
Like, you ain't, hey, this is like, hey, bro, you ain't shit. Hey, you want this? You want this? Take it right now. Just do it. Marry me. Quit fucking talking about it and be about it. And you can tell it pisses him off, but he loves it too.
Oh yeah,
it's like
they're
talk
perfect for each
dirty
other.
to me.
Yeah,
it's like there's this really kind of power dynamic between the two of them, which I find fascinating. I think that's incredible. Also, and I've been trying to research this. This does kind of there is a change from the books. I don't remember there ever being anything in the books about the High Tower turning green when the High Towers go to war. I think that's just written for the show, but I like it. I like it because it added more weight to that moment. And if you notice, so a few things to notice about that scene. Alicent walks in, and all of her family are the first ones to stand up and honor her. Everyone that comes from House Hightower, they stand up, and then Daemon. So eventually, everyone stands up, but Daemon Targaryen, he doesn't stand up one time. He's sitting the whole time, just sitting there like, I ain't standing for that bitch. And I was like, no, I think not, probably not.
He's like, I ain't standing for anything.
I ain't standing for that shit at all. But yeah, Daemon and Rhaenyra, they're kind of, and like they're about to start macking on each other, and Viserys is looking at him. He's like staring dead at him, like, I know you are not gonna kiss him at your freaking wedding right now, right? Like, there's that moment, and then just the chaos breaks.
But at some point too, Daemon did talk to, or did it was Corliss's daughter. There was an interaction between those two as well, because it was like he was talking to her, then talking to him. Like, oh, dude, you're trying.
I'm telling you, she's got blonde hair. He's down for it.
He's single now, y'all. Seriously, he's a widower. You know.
I won't spoil that for this next episode, but this next episode is gonna go a lot deeper on that too. So based on what I know is going to happen, these next two episodes should be freaking crazy, man.
Oh, it's getting crazier every episode, man. Like every week, it's just getting crazier and crazier. It's a great show.
Well, to your argument, Greg, the whole fight started over Kristen. Kristen was the one.
He lost his shit.
He completely lost it, and he went after the love interest of Laenor. Boyfriend of the boyfriend. Boyfriend of the fiance.
Why would he go after him is my question.
Because he called him out on making it a convenience situation. Rather than it being him being in love with Rhaenyra, it was like, hey, the four of us can all do this together, and you can do whatever you want to with her. Like this whole thing works out. We can all work together. We all
Gotcha.
know what's going on. And then all of a
He didn't
sudden,
wanna
he
be
was
her
just
whore.
Yeah, that was
It-
that
yeah.
was like the second, because first of all, he was already upset because she spurned him basically, because
Right.
he asked you run away. She's like, no, dude, I might not like it, but it's still my duty. I still have to do this. It is what it
Yeah.
is. So that kind of brought him low too.
Mhm.
And then to have this, and then that's why I guess he folded like a lawn chair when Allison, because you could tell she knew nothing about them. She was asking about Damon. That's what she was alluding to. And he's just like, nope, I did it. It was me. I did it. Yeah, I did it. And then I guess that was the final straw where he was just like, I'm done with this shit.
Yeah, he beat that guy pretty good. I don't think he's
Yeah.
coming back.
Do you
Yeah, I don't
think
think he's
that-
getting back
No.
up.
Do you think the
And so
daughter
that-
was kind of like a, hey, I know your secret, so you better not tell my secret. Like it was kind of like, okay, we both know this information.
Right.
You know, I'm the lover of Leonor. You're the lover of the queen. Like,
Which
hey,
made no sense.
Yeah.
Why even mention it? Not to mention, why mention it then?
Right.
right.
Why start at the first day of 7 days of what could be hell or a wedding, and why not just let the whole thing play out? When you get to the backside of it, they're married, and like, hey, you know what? It's funny, they're a couple. They have 2 different rooms. No one asks questions.
It's very, very strange. Yeah.
But the end of the episode was the wedding, and they just rushed it.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't skip ahead 7 days. Like that was like later on that night. That's why Homeboy was still
Oh.
crying over the loss of his boyfriend. So
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hey, how about this? I'll give you a rare thing that I actually didn't like in this episode. So right after he punches the guy to death. Also, you know how terrible it must be to beat a man to death? Like your hands have to be just broken to shit by the time they're done. But the fact that after, like, there has to be some repercussions for that, right? Like you're a knight of the King's Guard, and you just lose your shit in the middle of a royal wedding and beat a man to death, and then it's like the next time you see him, he's in front of the werewood tree, about to commit seppuku. He's about to stab himself in the gut, and it's like, how would that have been able to happen? Like, do you think that at some point he would have been apprehended by someone and be like, dude, what's your deal? Not let to be, to go on his own way and go and kill himself out in front of this werewood tree.
I would think that at some point in time, somebody would have stopped him from beating the shit out of that guy. Because, like,
Yeah.
at some point, like, I love watching somebody get knocked out. Don't get me wrong. But I don't like seeing a guy that's already knocked out get the shit beat out of him. That's no
Have
Well-
a face wiped off?
yeah.
then on second thought, you might not want to watch 8 seasons of Game of Thrones.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I know it's fake. It's a little different, But
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
The
Love
fact
the
that
show,
he got
man.
weaponized at the end was not cool. Like I saw it coming. I knew it was going to happen, and just with Allison coming in and be like, there's a higher purpose you could serve me. So
Yeah. And I think that she took that power. Like the moment that he just blabbed and just cat out the bag. And like you knew that it was going to happen the whole time because she's talking about Damon. She thinks that Rhaenyra and Damon hooked up. But he doesn't know that.
she went full mom mode whenever her dad put it in her head that Rhaenyra was going to kill her kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the moment that she turned.
mhm.
And look, partially rightfully so. I mean, the downside is that even though what the dad was saying is how the world works in this world, you never knew it to be true, and now you're putting the sins of the father onto the kids. So that's essentially what we come back to.
Yeah, and it's like now Allison is finally playing the Game of Thrones instead of just being a pawn. Now she is a player. She is a participant. And
queen.
her, yeah, and she is like this whole scenario, and that's what they're trying to drive home. This whole scenario is not normal. if you are the wife of the king and you have buried him a son, you're the queen, and that's the heir.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all this run around with Rhaenyra, and then she knows that Rhaenyra is like having sex with her uncle. Then she finds out about Kristen, and she's like, "Oh, you lied to me. Maybe it wasn't with Damon, but you said that you were innocent, that you were pure, that you didn't do anything." And then because she did that, that's what got her father sent home. So she feels like she went to bat for Rhaenyra and got screwed in the end because of it.
She did, really.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
1000% she did. So
I mean, he
also,
needed to go. Let's be honest.
Yeah, for sure. And Viserys did the right thing dismissing him. But the fact that now she has Kristen Cole under her thumb. Like, you're a knight of the Kingsguard, you swear a vow. And I think that's part of the reason he wanted to run away, too. Because this has been weighing heavily on him. Like, being a knight of the Kingsguard is something that he takes very seriously. And he feels that he kind of ruined his honor by having sex with the Queen of Westeros. So,
let's think about it from a point of view. Like, you can't just stick a dragon in an overhead luggage. You know, I mean, like she comes with baggage, and like there's no way that you can just make that disappear.
Right.
You can't just date a Targaryen and expect to disappear without it being known.
Yeah.
She can barely walk the streets of, a gigantic ass city and not be known. So
to be honest, he had it made because I'm gonna marry my husband, we're gonna have kids, but you're still my boo. Like it's gonna be me and you. We're gonna be screwing whenever we want to. Like he honestly could have had a great thing going, but he's just his honor.
I mean, I get it.
He didn't want to be her whore. Remember,
he wanted more. Yeah, I get it.
He didn't want to be her whore. Which, okay, respect that.
I would be her whore in the drop of a hat. I'm just saying.
So the next one's a 10-year jump. Do we know what actors/actresses are going to be replaced? I know Rhaenyra's replaced, right?
Allison is
Allison replaced? Okay.
Yes. Rhaenyra, Allison, Lena. So this would be the third actor. This is the daughter of Corlys Velaryon, the one that was dancing with Daemon. She's going to have another actor, and she is going to become more important too here in the next episode, especially. Yeah.
Was she the one that was originally supposed to be wed to the king, but she was only 12?
Right, that's her. Yeah. That's her. Okay. That's her. And her brother is Laenor, the one that just married Rhaenyra.
Now, but most of the guys aren't getting replaced, right?
No, I don't think any of the guys are getting replaced at all.
I think it's because most of the guys were older. There's no younger guys. Right?
No, I mean, like, look, I'm all for seeing Matt Smith continue to play Daemon. I mean, I think that if you bring in another Daemon at this point,
he'll just have longer hair again.
You laid some great, true, yeah. You laid some groundwork with that character in these first few episodes, and to change him over now would be, to ruin the masterpiece.
No, Matt Smith is like a superstar now because of this role. Dude, like he's so good. Like he's so good at like being like he's asshole, he's evil, he's ruthless, but you like the guy. You don't want to like him, but you do anyway.
And which is so amazing because he was a doctor,
Yeah,
it's so amazing.
Well, my question is, what is Viserys could look like?
Shit is what he's gonna look like.
He's already going down that path. So he had the nosebleed at the end of the wedding, right?
Yeah, that's the point I was just about to get ready to say. I think now we're at a point to where we're gonna get a little Cersei in here, and what we're gonna get is Alicent turning into one mischievous queen. So I'm curious to see if she's going to increase the speed at which he is dying, because it seems to be that he's already on overdrive to death row. I don't know how much more the poor guy can take. I mean, he is a bitch, so it does kind of line up with his little...
Physically, mentally, I mean, how many times do you see it? He's just like, oh, God, what now? What now?
Yeah. And he's not even, the funny thing is I think they called him out. Like, he's not even a king in a time of war. Like, he chose not to partake in the war on the islands, and really hasn't had to fight for anything beyond putting his name in the hat to be the next ruler. You know,
Mhm.
he didn't come from a straight lineage line. He was a cousin or a nephew or whatever the case may be. So,
All right, so I have one more question about the show, then I'm all spent on as far as what I had to ask. The agreement with Corley and the king. What they agreed on was when they had kids, they would have the name of the Corley,
Yeah,
right?
His name, yeah.
But when he
Valerian.
took the throne, he would change his name to be the king's name.
Targaryen.
Targaryen. Okay.
Mhm.
That was the
Yeah.
agreement?
100%.
That's buying
the
time,
agreement.
is what that is. That's like wait for the king to disappear so he can be, King Valerian. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, because like what's gonna make them honor that whenever he's gone? Like,
Well,
all he was doing was buying interest. That's all he was doing.
yeah, I mean, I think and he mentioned it in the show too. Like he's not going to wipe out the Targaryen name, just because the husband gives his last name and that's the name that continues on. But I wanted to mention this to you guys. I don't know if you caught it or not. You know this part in the episode where the king, he's chilling back and he's got the maesters talking to him. He's talking to his hand to the king about they're not going to write cool songs about him because he's not a badass warrior king and stuff. But did you notice while the two maesters are working on him, one of the maesters mentions an alternate form of treatment for whatever the king is going through, right? And said, we could do da 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 da. But then the other guy is like, no, this is what the king needs. Dude, there's something to, and it hasn't. I mean, they're laying more and more breadcrumbs, but amongst the A Song of Ice and Fire fandom, there is very much this thing called the Grand Maester conspiracy, and
they're the ones that tell the story, right?
They're the ones that tell the story. But get this:
start with that aspect and then carry on. Yeah.
They're the ones that are telling the story. They're the ones that write all the personal letters for all the kings and high lords. They're the ones that dispense the medicine and the moon teas and all these other. They handle literally everything.
So they could really be the ones in control. Yeah.
And look at who they're always benefiting. Because the Maesters, they're trained at the Citadel. The Citadel is in Old Town. Old Town is ruled by the High Towers. So, you're starting to see this intricate web of, okay, power is being consolidated towards one side. And the Maesters are very clearly kind of taking part in it. And it's even rumored. So you remember when he dismissed the hand of the king? He was kind of like, hey, it kind of looks like you could have been implied in the death of my father because my father died under weird circumstances. And then all of a sudden you became hand of the king a few years later. So he's like, everything that the High Towers do is like, it's very manipulative. And there's even a character in the fourth book who mentions that the world the Maesters are building has no room for magic or dragons. So there's like this really kind of big conspiracy going on that I've been looking for in just about every episode, and to try and get more confirmation of it, because nothing is confirmed, but it is heavily implied that something is going on with the Maesters.
I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because, I mean, like you said, I mean, I picked up on that too because it was a younger one. He said, well, let's.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what he said, but I was like, that kind of makes sense. But the older one, the one that gave the moon tea, he was like, no, this will work better for His Majesty. We'll stick to this.
Right.
I'm thinking,
right.
Okay.
Definitely weird.
Oh, yeah. this show goes in so many different directions, man. It's such a great universe. And like I said, I can't wait to start reading these books. I meant to start doing it this week, but just time. Yeah. If I do anything else, start anything else new before I do Rebels, I think Ross and Sarah are going to kick my ass. So, but I have a pretty good feeling I'm going to have a lot of downtime here in the next couple weeks. So I'm definitely going to get Rebels watched here in the next couple weeks because, yeah, I'll have time. But
Cool stuff.
We're gonna quiz you.
yeah, let's do it. Let's even talk about it. I'll quiz y'all since y'all haven't watched it in years. How about that? What else? Anything else on House of the Dragon?
Well, the one thing I will say about House of Dragon, since you guys got me into it, thank you, appreciate it. I just love because it's the mystery and the puzzle, and like you said, there's certain things you can see coming. Some things you're like, whoa, didn't see that one, but I love how some you can put 2 and 2 together because I have not seen Game of Thrones.
Mhm.
So I'm coming at this like super new. And this is like really, especially it being like a prequel to.
You gotta watch Game of Thrones.
At some point I will get there, but this right here has got my attention.
I would definitely be interested to hear Sarah's thoughts on Game of Thrones when she does watch it. And so
Sarah,
many different moments and things in that show.
Sarah, when I watch it, we can do a special broadcast just of our review of Game of Thrones. We'll go through.
I'm sure it'll be very colorful. I'm very sure of that.
Just know that by the time you get to season 6, they're not working with any book material anymore. So
It's just like a free for all.
seasons 1 through 5 is, in my opinion, like the pinnacle of television. That I think House of the Dragon is on pace to succeed them. But up until now, like Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones are like to me, that's like the highest television has ever made it to. Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
So good.
So it's going to be kind of like Walking Dead and Breaking Bad. Everybody told me you should watch it. You should watch it. You should watch it. I never did. And then after I finally watched it, I was like, damn it. I should have watched it. But,
Yeah.
At least I get to binge it all now. Put it that way. Not because of the angst everybody else did when they were watching it. So
That is true, but I'm going to tell you right now, there was something about watching Game of Thrones week to week.
Oh,
It was just,
dude.
it was a cultural phenomenon. I mean,
Yeah.
like I know that Walking Dead carried the same weight and Breaking Bad probably less than the other two, but I mean, Game of Thrones was just a thing, man. Like it was, as it was unfolding. Like I remember being a kid watching The Sopranos, right? Not a kid, but enough of a kid, probably to where I shouldn't have been watching all The Sopranos, but watching The Sopranos and it being a Sunday affair. Game of Thrones took that like times 10, times like 100. I mean, like it was being an adult with other. I was an adult for The Sopranos, but at the same time, like I was still like a really young person when the Game of Thrones kicked off. It was everyone was watching it, and like you couldn't go into a restaurant and talk about Game of Thrones without someone saying don't, like I haven't seen it yet, or someone saying, you know, like, oh my god, right? Like it was one of those shows where everyone, like it was culturally involved. And you got to watch it at some point. I mean, yes, you have to watch Rebels first, but like you definitely have to get involved with it.
yeah, well, it's like the Dukes of Hazzard, man. It's one of those things everybody watched. You know.
I disagree, but yes.
Yeah, man. Loving the show. Anything else y'all want to bring up about it?
I will say that's one show I watch it every Sunday night.
Yeah.
I try to watch it
weird
every
now.
Sunday, but man, Sunday by the time I've gone through the Panthers loss and then the post game show,
I gotta have something to cheer me up.
Some family stuff. Yeah, I usually don't
Go to a show of death. Yes.
unless I have
That's gonna
friends who
cheer
want
me
to
up. I know,
watch it
I'm
that
like-
night. I usually don't watch it that night. So
Because Damon actually, I'm like, that was me today. I'm like, I won't just,
yeah.
I want to take a rock and hit somebody in the head. I mean, God.
Damon's the guy everybody can relate to at some point in time. You've been a Damon. And that's just how Damon did you go? How deep did you go, Damon?
How Damon did you go? How deep into Damon territory?
That's
On a
right.
scale
Right.
from bitch to Damon,
Yeah.
where were you at?
Yeah. On a scale of bronze bitch to Damon. Yeah.
It's like a scale of, was it Valeris to Damon?
Yeah.
Oh, Viserys. Yeah.
Viserys.
Yeah.
Damon.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
Yeah.
they're total opposite ends of
Yeah.
the spectrum there.
Definitely opposite. But I think that's probably it. I think Allison was the star of of this episode, just with how things transpired.
Mhm.
Yeah, this next episode is going to be insane. So
Yeah, we say that every week, but we're not wrong. Every
No,
week it
not
gets
with this show.
crazier and
At least
crazier.
this time I'll
Yeah.
be prepared to know it is like a 10-year jump because, like I said, I have seen where they are changing the casting.
yes.
So at least I'm prepared for that instead of like, hold on a second, because the only
You know-
other I can figure out, it's like, oh, Allison was pregnant with this one, but she's not pregnant with this one. So I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, there had to been.
So I don't. So I'm waiting for a specific moment, and that's what the moment is after it happens. But there is a moment that I believe is going to happen either next episode or the episode after, that I think is going to be one of the defining moments of the show.
Okay.
That like this whole season, it's going to be like, oh, you're going to remember that part because it's going to grip you and not let go. And that could happen this next episode, if not the very next one after. And it's
Okay.
going to be insane.
Let us know what it does. And actually,
Pay attention.
I'm gonna bring it to the show next week, and I'll be like, "Was this the moment?" Let me see if I can pick it out myself. So
all
let
right.
me know.
Yeah.
Well, we
Every
got.
single
I have a
moment.
feeling once you see it, you'll be like, oh, yeah, that was the
That was
moment.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yep.
Yeah. What were you saying, Ross?
I was gonna say you're just gonna mention every single moment in the show.
That's
Is that
it.
it?
Is that it?
Was that
Is
it?
How
Well,
about
then
that
the
one?
next moment was that it?
Eventually, I'll be right. That's
Yeah.
right.
True, you will be right.
Shotgun
point.
method. Well, all right. Well, we got one more show to talk about, and I kind of can't believe it's the last show that we end up talking about, but I'm sure we still got a good little while because we got 3 episodes of it, and I know we've been waiting for it. So we can hop into Andor. Cody, did you watch Andor?
I started. I have not
Okay.
finished. No.
I know you're not a huge Star Wars guy, but this
Yeah.
show is.
So I haven't finished it yet. No, I haven't
Okay.
seen enough to like comment on it.
Okay.
But I do like it because the character kind of doesn't seem like a good guy. Maybe he is. I don't know. But I like that. It seems like a darker Star Wars story.
Yeah.
And I'm into that. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Okay. Well, do you want to hang out with us while we talk about it, or do you want me to give you?
I'm going on an hour or 4 hours and 13 minutes.
Yeah.
Podcast.
Post game right before this. Yeah. Not post
Yeah.
game. Free for all.
Free for all, yeah.
All right.
But,
Cool. Well,
yeah,
buddy,
man.
tell them where they can find you at.
Yeah, find me on Twitter at CodyLax, CODYLAC. I'm always on the C3 Panthers podcast. So that's like we're doing content every day, it feels like. Yeah, so and then catch us on Sunday when we do the post-game show. Me, Greg, Tony, and CK. And
I'll talk about the Panthers' loss this
Mm.
Sunday because I'm predicting a loss. Let's see what happens.
the question on
Chin up,
today's
kid.
free for all was like, if we lose, does Matt Rule get fired? And maybe, like, we just don't know. So,
It depends on how bad. I think if we get blown the F out, it's a good
Yeah.
possibility.
I don't
We'll
know.
see.
We got embarrassed like hell last season too. There are plenty of games where we got
Yeah.
embarrassed as hell. So I mean, unless
Yeah, but we knew he
Fans
wasn't
up,
leaving
I don't
last
think they'll let him
season.
go.
Huh?
I don't think they'll let him go.
I don't think they will either. I don't think so.
I think they're gonna hold him till the end.
I don't think Tepper's going to do it.
End
I
of
don't
6
think
years
he's
or
gonna
end of the season?
Season at least.
Oh, I'll say, please don't say end of 6 years because we're only not even halfway there yet. Then if that's the case.
listen, I'll
I
give
mean-
Greg his brownie points. He called it on day one. He's like, I don't fucking like this dude. He speaks in platitudes and coach talk. And he's like, Greg called it. He was, he hit the nail on the head.
I'm not right very often, but when I am, it's about Matt Rule. So, so Sarah's the same way.
We'll start
Sarah's
saying
like
some
Matt Rule to
positive
begin
thoughts.
with.
Damn
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. All right, well,
That's-
I appreciate y'all having me, man. I love talking House of the Dragon with y'all. Even Rings of Power, I enjoy talking with y'all.
Hell yeah, man. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Check out Lower Decks when you get opportunity, though.
Okay.
I'd just
Yeah, I
watch
will.
one episode. I'd love to hear your
Oh
thoughts.
yeah,
on
yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, I love animated stuff, so that's like right up my alley.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if
All
you're
right,
into
well-
anime, but I did watch Cyberpunk Edge Runners, and that's a big thing. So
Yeah. I
I
love
finished that whole little season or that whole Netflix drop, so that was really good.
Dude, I've been an anime nerd since I was like 7 or 8 years old, bro.
Give it a shot, man. It's a good show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. All right, well, y'all have a great night.
You too, bud.
All right, Cody. We'll see you.
Talk to y'all later.
I'll talk to you tomorrow,
Later,
man.
man.
All right, down to 3, and 3 episodes. So everybody's pick an episode. We'll talk about it. Just break it down real quick. No, I'm just kidding. Not doing that. ANDOR is finally here. It was fun. It was funny because I just totally forgot Wednesday that it was coming out, and then like I flipped on Disney Plus, and I was just gonna watch She-Hulk, and I was like, let me go ahead and knock this one out of the way, and then like I watched 3 episodes of ANDOR, and I was like, I cannot believe I forgot, first of all. And second of all, I can't believe I haven't heard from Ross or Sarah about this when it came out today. That's why I sent y'all a message. I was like, so ANDOR is out. We didn't talk about it beforehand, so we are all going kind of off reactions here that we don't know or anything what anybody's going to say. I think we all, or at least I know I've put out there that I liked it. Beyond that, I haven't said anything else. Ross, man, you're my big Star Wars guy on this one. What say you about ANDOR? I know you did the pregame with the Rogue One you showed me. There we go. You know I'm a helmet guy.
It was a good 3 episodes. I'm a fan. I think that it was exactly perfect, which I mean everyone has been saying for a little bit that I have been listening to. That they released 3 episodes. They told a great little story arc right off the beginning. Mm-hmm. I do disagree with most people reason why they did 3 episodes and they did it in such a fashion, because this show is supposed to be 12 episodes for this season. Mm-hmm. So we got a quarter of it right off the bat. But if you do the math, which let me just do it for you, they have guaranteed 2 more months of subscriptions for Star Wars fans. So not only that, if they have kids who are into Star Wars and or Marvel, then, you know, they keep going after that. If these 3 episodes are the entrance into the ANDOR show, I am firmly here for every bit of it. The way that you brought up the question today in the group chat of trying to understand what the Lord, what was the name of that planet? The Canary kids were actually saying, and I immediately said, you know, the whole point is that you're not supposed to know. The whole point is that it kind of clouds your perception of Casa or Cassian, how he grew up and what he grew up with, and why he is the way that he is.
Right.
So every little bit that they've added into this show has been great to tell the story, but that's my immediate take.
Right. Okay, Sarah.
I just love the world, because, you know, with Star Wars you're so used to certain characters, so now you're actually exploring a lot more. It's almost like everyday type, how people live every day.
Right.
You know, it's just like I was looking at Brian. I was like, damn, what? So why the hell can't we have transports like that? I mean, it's just like, you know, and that's what I've always loved about Star Wars. It's just the technology. It seems like it's just so gritty and simplistic, but yet it's, you know, higher technology than what we have now. You know, it's like speeders and I mean, it's just, but I just love this world. I love it. It's a different iteration. You're seeing something totally different. Like I said, it's like and then with Cassian himself, I mean, I love any kind of exploration you have on a character, but you have all these other characters as well. So, you know, now you're seeing all these other relationships. You know, it's not a Skywalker. It's not, you know, a Solo. It's not. It's just any normal, you know, just people. And it's that what got my attention. Now, the very first episode, I'm just kind of like, okay, let's kind of get it going. But by the, you know, second and third, I'm like, okay, I see. I'm in. I think there's just so much I'm like absorbing right now.
Right. That is real.
You know,
that is 100% real.
You know, the 2 fantasy shows. And for me, like I said, for this type of Star Wars show, to me, it's more realistic. if that makes any sense.
Right.
To me, I just feel kind of like if it was us in this world, this would be what we were dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be like the Jedi or Sith and that kind
More
of thing.
relatable.
Oh, no.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like the 90% of occupations in the whole entire galaxy are scavengers. So,
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like that's what we end up being.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree with you, both of y'all, on taking the show. I'm loving it so far. And Sarah, it's funny you say that like the first episode was slow for you and then it picked up really well. It was the same way for me. Like I enjoyed it, but like by the time I got done with the first episode, I was like, all right, I got to figure out where this story's going, what they're doing here. By the time they get done with episode 3, they have told a little story arc right there of, okay, I have this established universe where if you take out the blasters and maybe a few keywords like Empire, stuff like that, it's a totally different story than Star Wars. It's not Star Wars at all, but it still feels like it's in the Star Wars universe. And they did a great job with that. No lightsabers, no force powers, nothing like that. Not even any real talk of Empire. It did have the BBY reference at the beginning just to give you a timestamp, which is great. That I love that because I love being able to know where I'm at in this universe. But this show really impressed me, and I wish I could watch this whole series right now. Well, like when I got done with episode 3, I was like, okay, give me more right now. I got to know what happens next. So let's break it down, man.
Well, the first episode, both of you talking about it being slow, is very important because The Mandalorian was actually kind of slow in the first episode. And what that does is that gives you time to digest what you're about to walk into.
Right.
It being the first episode of a 3-story arc, which it truly is, and I'll explain why I think that, but it gives you a chance to get your feet planted. Like, you need to know when it is. Yeah, like the greatest thing that they're doing is putting like the planet names out there and like helping you figure out where you are, even though if you can't pinpoint on a map, you at least know like the names of the planets and everything else. Because I'm going to tell you once again, that's what I was talking about with the other 2 shows, trying to learn all these characters' names, and I'm like, come on, dude. Like, I don't need any. It made me stop and think. If there are people out there who are right-minded and not like us, and they choose to only watch one show at a time, like what's the majority of people watching? What are they going after? Are they going after Lord of the Rings? Are they going after House of the Dragon? Are they going after Star Wars? And clearly it's all about your take, right?
Right.
But this right here, I feel like everyone kind of likes Star Wars, unless you have some weird thing about you where you don't. This was cumulative in all of Star Wars. It meant that you needed to know nothing about it, but you could walk into it and feel very much a part of it. Yeah. The first episode, first off, the intro is pretty cool. They stick just enough to the classical music vibe, but they bring more into it, and I really enjoy the subtlety of which they're bringing more music into it. It's more strings, more almost like synthy style openings and stuff like that. Now, when you go into the first planet, the first episode being slow is him trying to look for his sister, him trying to figure out like what's going on. Where's this person at? And then, he ends up committing murder on accident.
Let's talk about that scene before you get any further, because that was one scene I wanted to talk about. So what is going on here? He's getting jumped. Or not jumped, but searched by these guards. Right?
No, he's getting punked. I mean, like
he's getting hassled.
They felt like he was a dick to them, and so they're hassling him because they think they're in a position of power.
So he headbutts this guy and accidentally kills him. And then they all freak out like they were friends just playing a joke together. And he's like, oh, well, let's go ahead and get our story straight and this and that. The guard is with him.
Well, the guards were in the wrong and they were off duty.
Right.
Okay.
Because they were just being assholes.
Gotcha.
They were literally trying to swing their guard dick around when they had no place being out.
That makes more sense now. I get that a little bit.
Because it started when he walked in the bar, because when he walked in, the lady came to pay him mine before she paid those 2 mine. And they're like, oh, what? And of course, you don't really know how much they've been drinking. So,
it happens all the time in bars, though.
If start talking shit and then thinking, And then
if you're a stranger that walks in, people think they get more money out of you right off the bat, or they're more interested in you because they don't know anything about you. If you're a patron of a bar or something like that, then you're a fixture on the wall. So to them, they didn't want to be fixtures on the wall.
They were like Norman Cliff.
Yep.
And I'll let you know too, before I saw this episode, I heard this online. I heard on the radio people talking about how Star Wars has gone sexual and this and that.
Oh Lord.
No, they haven't. It's not anymore.
There was
sexual.
only one moment that met the line, and it didn't cross it.
Well, what I heard was two: is the brothel scene. The bar we're talking about was actually a brothel, is what it would more seem like. Which, okay, whatever. Who
The
cares?
red light district was more of a thing that didn't have red lights, but yeah, to me that was.
Well,
And
it was
then,
really
of
the
course, the scene
underground,
we'll
like the
talk about
seedy
later.
side. It was a little more seedy.
And of course, the scene we'll talk about later with Tim and what's her name?
Bix.
Yeah, Bix. So, but yeah, so I didn't fully understand that fight scene, but like, or why it was such a big deal. But and it goes further into it. But keep going. We're going.
Oh no, they folded faster than fucking Kristen Cole did. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like that dude was like, you killed my partner, and it was all an accident, but it was our fault because we were holding you up, and they knew nothing about him, and so, I don't want to skip too much ahead, but his ship was pretty cool. Whenever he ousted out, it had like Y-wing engines and like a different style cockpit. Like first off, I really like that. I like the ships. I like the stuff they bring to the universe here. But I'll just to stay on that particular storyline, when it got brought up with the deputy inspector, what's his name? Cyril Karn, I think is what they actually ended up naming him. That character one and alone is very important. I got some things to say about him too. But when his boss was just like telling it as it was, I mean, he literally described the events at which they took place in his mind, and they were almost exactly dead on true. They fucked with the wrong guy.
And they found out.
They found out. That's exactly it.
And it makes me wonder why this officer, like you're saying, is makes such a big deal about it.
And so, okay, I'll say it now because I haven't heard it anywhere else, and I haven't really dwelled into theories a whole lot at all because I wanted to kind of stay true to my own. And to me, this is very important. The first thing that his boss says to him is, "Have you modified your uniform?" And he's like, "Yeah, like I added piping, like blah blah blah." Look, I've been in the military. I know front office people when I've seen them. The people who sew their pockets shut and like all that kind of crap that you're not supposed to do. It's like it's all a formality, right? But it's also, when you're in a position of being someone that does the work and not someone who's out to create something totally different, you see that as a complete and total suck up. And that's exactly what this character is. But what I think is happening, and I haven't heard it anywhere else, so I'm going to say you heard it here first, is somehow that mentality is going to evolve into what the Empire is. Not what the Imperial Senate is, what the Empire turns into. Because they are essentially the definition of the phrase that Governor Tarkin says at the beginning of episode 4, and that the Emperor has dissolved the last of the blah 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 republic, and now all the regional governors are in control of their territories. And these are an example of regional governors basically being like a police-esque force taking control of their territories. So the territory of Morlano 1 and now his outlying planet that we know is what's the name of his planet? Ferrix? Ferrix, I think that's right.
Yeah.
Where he's actually at, they're the controlling force. The controlling force doesn't seem to be that much to really screw around with because they know that, populace and like majority rules, so like if they come around and they screw around with all these other people, then they're gonna fuck around and find out, right? I mean, like there's only so many of them, and then all these actual hardworking people aren't gonna stand up for it, which happens. But to me, Cyril is like the beginning of the pompous and circumstance of the actual empire, like that look of the gray suits and everyone dressed to the T's and everything has to be form fitting, and it's almost like the evolution, which I know is a little late because like we've seen it in other shows and stuff already, but it feels like that's a natural progression.
Right. Yeah,
And
that makes
so
sense. Yeah.
with that character, for him to directly disobey his boss, which his boss is just like, I got a conference to attend, I'm out, take care of shit.
Don't put your feet on my
Like,
desk. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's what you want in a boss, right? I mean, like you got it handled. I know you do, so I got to go do these things so you don't have to. But it really, that side of the story is very short. But then you talk about the other side, which is Cassian.
Mm-hmm. No.
So I just said a whole bunch. Someone else talking about Cassian.
Well, I mean, that character for me, like, you can tell he's like the officer in the army or officer in branch and that nobody likes. Like you can tell when an officer goes in the field with a bunch of people who are actually always doing the grunt work and what they really think of him. And just by the way, everybody looked at him, right off the bat, what was going on.
He's a butter bar.
Yeah, exactly.
But he had such a great motivational speech.
Oh yeah, let me tell you, awesome.
Oh, hold on, I described that speech. What did I say? Weak ass speech, I think is what I called it.
Good way to describe it. Well, I wanted to ask y'all. Okay, so there's the part that Cassian has that he's trying to sell, the big part, the part that still has a seal on it. Is that middle piece that's in Vader's belt thing? I know not the actual one, but is that what that is? Because
it's an NS9 star path. It's essentially their secrets. So the only, well, you were what'd you guys call it? What's your transpo called in the Army?
Transpo.
Whatever your transportation division is that you actually worked in. Whenever you work on a vehicle and it's got like some sort of secrets in it.
Okay.
I don't know if you actually had secrets in your vehicle. That's essentially kind of what this is.
Not that I'm aware of. Somebody told me about the secret. I don't think so.
Okay.
But,
well, we had secrets on our plane, and not just like, shh, don't tell anybody, but like, this is like real, like United States proprietary stuff.
Oh yeah. I'm sure if you had computers in the truck, it would happen. Yeah.
And so that kind of stuff, right? So that's kind of what this is. And that is, it allows like encrypted communication, blah, blah, blah. But not only that, but it's more along the lines of a GPS style type thing.
Mm.
So that's what he had. No, it was not in Vader's chest, even though it looked like it.
Yeah, well, I didn't mean like literally that one, but it looked like, oh, is that a part? So like it looked very, very similar to it. And I was like, we'll see. But yeah, so he has this thing, and I guess he's had it for a while. He's been saving it for a rainy day. And this is his rainy day because he's got to get the F off the planet. I love how dudes tell him too. He's like, there's different prices for me being discreet and for me being fast. He was like, and if you want both, it's going to cost you even more. And it's like, well, okay, that's the way the world works. But he's able to talk about it a little bit. Let's talk about Skarsgård's character. What's the name of the character he plays?
Luthen Rail, or Rail, however you say it.
So what we're looking at here is the beginning flames of the Rebel Alliance, correct? Like they're bringing this together. It's going to bring us to what ends up happening in Rogue One, but
yeah, but I think it's more like Spy Corps, right? Like it's more like he's trying to. Yes, rebels fight back, but at the same time, he's trying to infiltrate.
Right.
And so whatever he's trying to create, like he sees in Cassian, which is really funny because like in my mind, this whole entire 3-episode arc is Cassian running around with his tail cut off and he's freaking the fuck out. Like he's really trying to figure out how to get out in the way. And even through all that, this Luthen guy sees his ability and not like his fear and squandering. So Luthen's trying to build something more secretive, and even though it may be for the rebellion, it's definitely more personal than that, it seems like.
Right, just stick it to him. I think that's what he saw in Cassian too, is he saw that this is more of a personal vendetta with him, and you get to see that too, at least why he has such a vendetta with the Empire, I guess. It's going to be interesting to see them moving forward in the future, and their story. It's even funny then that whoever's shooting blasters at him at that point shoots just like stormtroopers. They can't hit anything, like anything at all. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah, I don't. I feel like blasters just don't have any accuracy whatsoever because
Unless a
after
hero's
so
shooting it.
many people didn't do it.
Yeah, but when a hero's shooting a man, they're right on point every time. You know. But I mean, I guess it's like that with guns in movies too. 1,000 rounds
right.
go down to the good guy. Nothing gets hit, and he unloads 2 shots and 2 headshots automatically.
How many
Very well.
arrows did Damon miss before he got struck by 3? Probably 3,000.
Good point. Very, very good point. I thought the scene with Skarsgård and him where they were trying to escape that warehouse was really. It looked cool, but it made no sense. Of course, I know nothing about what that room was, but why would you have that many insanely heavy machines just hanging from chains in the ceiling?
Well,
Once again, not in Star Wars, but
it looked like rims and axles.
I don't know what it was, but whatever they were huge. They were destroying shit.
It was all pulleys, and what made no sense is that it was just pulleys. Like there wasn't any sort of like conveyor system to make it like
Right.
work. Like to me, my mechanical mind goes into it, but I know that this whole planet is about scavenging shit, which is just weird in itself because I don't know how many planets out there are all about that. But well, first off, it put something into perspective for me. The entire separatist war that we lived through with Clone Wars and the prequels, you don't really get the weight of that unless you think about how many scavenger worlds are out there with all this debris and dead shit on it because of that. And I tend to forget that, and then things like this make me remember. So if this planet is all about scavenging, which it clearly is, because I mean that's what Tim and Bix have this whole entire business off of. Not to mention they're paying people, and Cassian's getting a whole little piece of the side. So what is crazy is that this town is probably built around that. Rooms like this exist maybe from like a different era. I mean, like we still have tobacco warehouses, not too far from us, and they're just now finally converting them to something else. So I can only imagine that it's the same kind of mentality has to exist if they had totally different types of things that they were actually trying to disassemble and salvage.
Right.
They would maybe need different equipment for that. Now, to your point, the equipment in that room makes no sense.
Not at all.
I get part of it, but like I get stuck at like 25%, and I'm like, no, nothing else works.
No.
So
you mentioned his name earlier. Let's talk about Tim. It's one of those moments where I kind of like when he gets what is coming to him. I was kind of like, hey, you deserve that. Then I kind of felt bad after that. I was like, I think Bix made me feel bad about it. But what an idiot! Like, first of all, I think it's dumb to I guess he was jealous.
Well,
I'm not really sure. I don't think Cassian was his friend, so a little bit of jealousy went in there. So he kind of sells him out. But then at the end, like these guys all have blasters, and you're running at them just downstairs with no weapon, like a madman. What do you think's going to happen? And then more to the point, when they shot him, it was like a big deal again. I guess like people being killed in this town community is a huge deal, which don't get me wrong, people being killed anywhere is a huge deal. But most of the time in Star Wars, when you see somebody die like that, get blasted by a guard or something like that, it's not as big of a deal being made of it.
That's back to my point. I'm going to start with that, and then we'll curl back to the Tim thing.
All right.
That right there goes right back to my point of like, this is like, it feels like the seeds of the Empire. It feels like things weren't okay, and like now they're doing what like our world is doing and making all these things okay just by evolution of like force. And so now it's okay because what needs to happen is these people need to be brought to heel. These people need to understand that we're the authority, and that it's the opposite of what they say in Rogue One. If you want to make 10 men feel like 100, then what you need to do is kill these people rather than think that they're going to just shoot the side of you or pull, do something to arrest you. No, it's life or death for you now. you don't get to play those games anymore. Like, we are the opposing force, and we come with custom suits, and we think that we're all that.
Well, that was the whole point of what was the officer's name again? Silkul?
Cyril.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the whole point, because to me, he just came off as being like completely offended, because he's like, oh, somebody just killed 2 of our guys. Oh, we can't let that go. We can't let that go. Somebody's got to pay for this.
He was fueled by his other guy, the Scars sounding one. You know, the other guy that showed up on scene with him, who was perfect. You know, I mean, like, to every officer, you're given a top of the enlisted, right? So when that guy showed up, he's like, no, like, what we need to do is stand up. Like, now's our time. We can't take shit. We don't bend. And then Cyril felt empowered, and so that's why I say, like, that's why it feels like the roots of the Empire. It with 5 years battle before Yavin, like, it feels like it's too late in the game for that to happen. But I guess a lot can happen in 5 years if, I mean, I hate to keep relating it back to our own world, but, you know, like, if something were to grasp it, you know, really truly evil, like, it could happen that fast.
Yeah.
And so
I just don't understand, because, like you said, we've had similar references to it in shows before this. And I mean, the Emperor even announces, you know, the start of the first Galactic Empire, like back in episode 3. So it's like, well,
but I don't think it was really considered the Empire. Like, it felt like yes, it was the first Galactic Empire, but I don't think the name had really caught on. It's one of those things to where it's like, you know, well, I mean, prime example, I sent you that text earlier. Like, they're opening up a restaurant back where we used to live, right? And so, like, if they truly are, like, that restaurant stuck to the same name even after new owners bought it, like, I would still call it the same thing. We have a friend that I still can't, you know, I still call Bobby, right?
Yeah.
He can't go change his name halfway through his life. It doesn't work. So the Empire is taking a moment to actually, like, evolve into what the Empire is.
Yeah.
And if it's the Imperial Senate, it starts moderating. It starts causing a moderation in the name change.
Right.
And so I feel like all of this is kind of going with it. The show of force, the power, the authority, all of that. And
I'd imagine too that if, like what you're saying, the rebel force will grow congruently with the Empire. So it's going to build up all this at the same point in time. It makes sense.
Yes.
Forces matching each other. Okay.
And rather than coming out with the full-on rebellion, what they're doing is really trying to figure out how to stop the seeds of the Empire.
Right.
And now it hasn't reached a point to where they need to go full out Rogue One.
Right. Gotcha. Let's talk about the escape, the Skarsgård, and
you had Tim. Hold on.
Oh yeah, Tim. That's right.
The Tim situation.
Yes.
Sarah, what'd you think about Tim? What'd you think about the Tim Bix dynamic?
That was kind of weird. That was just kind of a. I 100% believe that was fueled by jealousy. 100%.
Right.
100%, because they're working together. There's something. Even Cassian was like, "Oh, looks like there's something going on there." She's like, "I'll be quiet." She's like, "I'm good." And then even what Tim and Cassian said, Cassian's like, yeah, she's pretty tough. I hope you're man enough to handle that." Mm-hmm. And he just walks away, which that's what Cassian's done in this entire series. He always walks away. He's always going somewhere. So it seems like you see the back of his head more so you see the front of his face.
He gives a lot of money to people.
Yes. And he's almost like he kind of gave I know I'm kind of diverging a little bit, but it's almost like, God, it's like, is he like a straight up dirtbag? I mean, what is going on with this guy?
He's not a good guy.
No, he's not.
He's not a good guy that made a sacrifice.
He's afraid for his life. He is afraid for his life. That's what's happening.
Well, this is kind of previous to that. I mean, even before, they were sending out all these missives and all this kind of stuff. But, because I was like, how many other guys does he owe money to? But he does have a flair of using words, especially for the two guys. He was like, "Oh, you're taking orders from him now?" No, that's not what I said. It's like,
oh boy, I brought muscle.
Pay attention to me.
He said all I had to do was stand here.
But that's what I was trying to figure out. What's the relationship between Cassian and Bix? If they're just like friends, just something that kind of grew up together, or something. That's how I kind of felt it was. Like they just kind of knew each other. Mm-hmm. And then you had Tim over here. He's like, "Yo, dude, that's my lady." He's like, "Y'all might be friends and stuff," but then, Tim was like, "Why is she sticking her neck out for him?" Mm-hmm. That kind of, and that's where I'm saying the jealousy fell into it, because, Yeah, dude ratted him out like just like want nothing.
I think it was definitely the jealousy thing. And then there's also the one scene where he's fighting with the droid about using comms. And of course, when he uses the comms, that's what gives him away.
Yeah.
So very fitting.
Do you
that
know the
happens.
droid's name?
No.
She just calls him B.
Yeah, it was something like I saw it on the subtitles.
B2EMO.
Yeah,
As in,
emo, something like that's what I
Don't
want to say.
be
Yeah.
too emo.
God, no, not for real.
Wow. Okay.
I feel like I was the only one that picked up on that because I have heard 0 people talking about it.
I saw
And the
it, but I
droid
was
is
like, I
kind of
don't know how to
emo.
announce it. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, he calls him B, B2, but is no, whichever. Which like I was all cool with, but then when I saw EMO, I'm like emo, like cut myself emo. But then what they do is they portray the character of the droid. Look, partially very well because I think that it's a very acute observation to pick up on the fact that it takes more power for the droid to lie, to create a falsehood, rather than to just recount the events and tell the truth. Which I feel like, from someone who puts lines of code in computers constantly, makes sense. Like you have to build a story. And so for this little itty bitty droid who has been through shit in life, I don't understand how the whole power cell works with the droid. Like if you just have to replace them, which we saw R2 as like a grandpa droid in episode 8, but at the same time it's just wow. I mean, wow, great. I did hear one thing that was really cool, and it was, what if they were able to take the memory from this droid to put into the K2 droid? So when K2SO comes around, I'm like, that's a far stretch, but I like the thought.
Yeah, but
like
why?
I don't mind it. I mean,
Wow.
a
Just
why,
have
a
fun.
why not? It's all the same.
Yeah, that's true. Just have fun.
Something that people don't think about when it comes to Star Wars is that all of Star Wars is connected. Everything from the animated shows to the live action, the TV shows, the movies, it's all connected. And there's not another genre that is really like that encompasses even like all of the animated shows.
Right.
So, well, like 90% of them. So for Star Wars,
Sure.
like it's really interesting when people start doing that. But the droid itself is really cool. With Tim and Bix, I think that the scenario of them being best friends, like Bix and Cassian, it seemed like they could confide in each other. She knew that he was Kenari or Kenarian or however they want to call it. She knew all that stuff, that being the actual thing that set her off to know that it was Tim that told, whatever the blue suited fuckers are called. It's important to remember that you can have friends that are of different sex and not, be motivated towards anything.
Right.
But man, did he take it overboard.
I know, because I started questioning. I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Where are you going?" I got to run some errands. Oh, and he's going to follow her. I'm like, "What do you think's going to happen when you catch her?" Or if you come.
Yeah.
I mean,
she was
like,
cute.
What the hell are you doing?
I understand. He was trying to follow her all around. But at the same time, should have just been like, I mean, I guess that's what her one day a week policy really was. Like, you're a little too much. You only get 1 day a week. Period.
I mean, that right there with the red flags for me. But
Yeah.
When
anyway,
she time in the beginning of the relationship,
He's like a puppy dog. I mean, seriously, he was like a puppy dog. I was like, really? Dude?
It's not his first Star Wars role. He was in one of the prequel movies.
Really?
Yeah.
I imagine as a younger kid.
Nope. Not as Tim. The actor was.
Well, that's what I mean. But I imagine as probably a child actor because that was 20 years ago.
No, he was in one of the sequel movies.
Oh, the sequel movies. Okay, like I said, prequel movies. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. All right.
No.
That's cool.
let's talk about the kids in Canary. Oh wait, no, my bad. You had somewhere you wanted to go.
Well, no, I was just gonna say I was gonna talk about the getaway with Skarsgård. I don't know, I can't remember his name in the show, but I
Luther.
love that they picked the actual the speeder bike they ended up going with.
Oh yeah, the
original
74
indoor.
74Z.
Yeah,
I think is what it is.
thought that was pretty cool. I was like, that's nice.
Yeah, I know. Don't give me shit.
What were you gonna say about the kids, the Canary kids?
That whole entire thing. I'll start off and then we'll end with it also after we talk about that. With the kids and the planet, the whole thing gave me major Hook vibes right off the bat. I heard a lot of people say Lord of the Flies, but to me it was Hook. I don't know why. It was just the kids screwing around and having a good time. We didn't really see them having a good time in this bit, but the planet had a mining they call it
Disaster, I guess.
Yeah, but it seems to be so overshadowed by the truth of what could actually have happened that I think that's going to kind of come back into play at some point, because if the kids were able to survive, did they just run away? Were they somewhere else? I've seen plenty of other shows and movies to where kids were just in a different physical location than like the adults were. And like that's why they survived. So the rumor's been going around that the fact that the ship crashed and it had yellow people on it, that the whatever was on that planet caused them to turn yellow. I feel like that's not true.
Well, they were mentioning it having toxins. They said that
Right.
before when they talked about it. So maybe that's what it was. I don't know.
To me, I don't feel like it would have made them turn yellow, because if Marva and I can't remember the guy's name that showed up to actually save him, Cassian, they didn't turn the color, and like it wasn't.
So they were wearing masks, remember?
Well, so were the other ones.
Yeah, but a lot of those guys, apparently, when they crashed or whatnot, the masks came off.
I find it difficult to believe it's going to change your colors.
Yeah.
Then again, I mean,
don't know what kind of toxin it is.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen weird
Don't
things.
overthink it.
I know.
Maybe they were just yellow people.
That's what I thought.
You know?
Yeah.
Well,
I've seen Blue Man Group.
I
would
found it
assume
more
that-
crazy that the guy who they thought that the girl who got killed by the blasters, that they all shoot with the blow darts.
Yeah.
Like she pokes him and he's like dead. Then like he gets up and sees her and like without question just shoots her.
Not only that, he gets up and none of them shoot him.
Right.
They're all looking at her and they don't notice, another deer moving in the woods.
Right.
I feel like
Right
you'd
beside her.
see movement.
Yeah. But it was kind of crazy. Like I was like, why would he get up and just shoot her? Like no questions asked, anything. Like
Could be
maybe they're-
disoriented. Could be.
could be.
Yeah.
Maybe they've had hostile run-ins with people on this planet before because they were mining stuff there and they shouldn't have been, or maybe something like that. There's a whole story there that we may find out something about, may never know. I want to know what they were mining.
I know,
Me
right?
too, because I have heard this, but I was thinking it as I was watching it. The whole premise of Rogue One and Cassian for him was that he said to what's-her-face that he had been in the fight since he was 6. And he wasn't 6 in this show.
No. But
He was definitely he was pushing 12 by the looks of it. And so I would imagine that whatever happened on that planet and then the years afterwards, were just a struggle. So whatever happened on that planet had to be somehow Imperial related. Marva and the other dude said that a Republic ship was coming and that if they found all these people dead, that they would just kill the kids. So I don't know at that point if they still consider the Republic the actual like Imperial Senate Republic,
right,
or what they're considering them, because it's such a gray area in that point in time to really truly understand who's who and what's what. I feel like they'd be bad guys if they just get up and shoot. Like that would be like my number one assumption. But also, we're left to believe that Cassian's the only one that made it off the planet, and how does he know where his sister's at? So there's a lot of dots that aren't connected. This whole thing has been about Cassian running from something that he did. And I think that it's really showing the weight of a decision that he made and how much it's affecting him and how much that's going to change him going forward into Cassian Andor the Spy. So No, you get back to Luthen and their little runaway getaway. The fact that he walks in, strapping mines to that door, and then just giving rule 1 and rule 2 to Cassian right off the bat, hardcore.
Mm-hmm. He's a badass.
Yeah,
they make him out to be a badass in the show, which is awesome. That's what I needed. So, I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. We're only going to get 1 episode per week from here on out, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the total number on this? 9?
12.
12. That's right. You said that before.
And then another 12 for season 2.
Sweet. I'm interested to see how much time passes during each season. We know we got a 5-year span, so I'm wondering how they split that 5 years.
I think you might get it between the episodes. I think you're going to get not like a healthy time jump. You're probably going to get like some sort of consistent time jump, unless they tell the story in arcs.
Yeah, well, like I said, they only have 5 years to play with.
Yeah,
so it's actually less than 5 years because the battle Rogue One happens before the battle. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah,
slightly before.
Well, if you look at episode 1, I mean, you're talking that whole thing happens within like a matter of days, or episode 3, excuse me, or 4. Yeah. But yeah,
so it's just slightly before. Yeah, so I guess you wouldn't really consider any amount of time then. Would be 4 or 5 years. Awesome, man. I am so looking forward to finding out what's going on with this episode, this series. I'm so happy that we were hyped up about it. We were excited about it. We saw it. We were excited about it, and it delivered. I'd have been so upset if it didn't. Not saying that Book of Boba didn't, but I didn't get everything I wanted when I was looking at Boba Fett and I saw the previews. It was a great show, but it wasn't what I expected, and that's my fault, my expectations type thing. So, but this show is right there for me. I'm loving it, loving it, loving it. It is more real world. Like, this is what our lives would be in the Star Wars galaxy, far, far away. Not lightsabers and Force.
I heard a good takeaway that made a whole lot of sense, and that was if you were a kid and you had the option to tell the story of what happened to Boba Fett when he came out of the Sarlacc pit, like if you were, kicking British BK Knights lights, whatever the light up shoes were in the sandbox as a kid, like what would your story be? How would Boba Fett crawl out of that sandbox? And like that's the kind of story you got. Like Mandalorian was kind of the same thing. Like what if there's another Mandalorian that he was just kicking it with, going around the galaxy, doing some weird stuff with, And like a lot of those are just good, fun kid stories.
Yeah.
And Andor is something that's a different take. Andor is a creation. Andor is something that came out of nowhere, and I think that it's spectacular, and it's a great point of view to have on future Star Wars stories going forward.
Andor showing the effects of things that happen in the Skywalker saga, basically. Like what happens to the rest of the universe when this stuff's going on. These are the major events that cause this trickle-down effect. This is the trickle-down effect. This is what happens to regular people throughout the rest of the galaxy. So I do love it. It's a great story.
There are pictures that float around the internet that do make me worry and make me happy and make me sad. And it's like when I saw the picture of Hayden Christensen and the little girl that played Leia on Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, that's a father and daughter moment. Like that's so cute. Like like you like part of you just like gets it like right there. Yeah. And then you see the picture of now his name's escaping me. The guy who played Solo in the Solo movie, and
I don't know about
the girl who played Leia and Obi-Wan. You're like, these are roughly the same exact time frames. So just imagine that. This old guy is dating this young girl.
Oh,
you're like, oh, damn it. No, don't do that to me, internet.
Well, it was kind of like that in real life with Harrison Ford. And
yes, that's the whole point.
Yeah, so it's kind of historically accurate.
Anyway, but I'm happy. Star Wars is on a good place in time. I like it.
I like it too. Sarah, you got any last thoughts?
I'm ready for episode 4.
I hear you. That's a good
ready to
last
roll.
thought.
Ready to rock and roll. I'm telling you.
That's right.
Let's go.
There you go. Well, y'all, we hit that perfect 3-hour mark, just like we have the last couple of weeks, man. We've got some awesome content to talk about, so it's kind of hard not to talk about it for this long. I'll tell you that.
I know, right?
I'm out of notes. I got to work in the morning, and I'm ready to wrap things up. You ready to get out of here?
Yeah, we're going to go see Avatar tomorrow.
Nice.
Oh,
Good
we
call.
were just talking about that.
I don't remember seeing that movie in theaters, to be truly honest with you. So I may go see it too, just to go see it, because I don't remember seeing it in
Remember
theaters.
seeing it opening weekend or like opening whatever, and then remember we saw it again 3D. So we're gonna see it tomorrow 3D.
Nice.
I remember in 3D too.
That's a 3D movie right there.
My parents were just at Disney in Florida, and they went to Pandora, the Avatar world.
But that's
So
not
that was
counting
their
how many
little thing.
times I watched it on DVD as well. So I mean, I pretty much have this movie memorized.
Yeah, I watched
It was
a
a
lot
good
when it
movie,
came
but
out.
I have not watched it that much.
I remember watching it a lot when it came out, but I haven't seen it in a long time. And I'm not, for some reason, I'm just not really insanely excited for the next one. But I think it's just 'cause it's been so long.
Time, yeah.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Avatar when it came out, and I really enjoyed the 3D experience, and I thought that it was really good. I'm not a James Cameron fan. I think the dude's a little bit of an asshole. That's just me. I do think that it is too late, but I'm not going to not see the movies.
Well, the whole plan is he's got like what 5 or 6 of these damn movies. I'm like, dude,
Four more
I
coming
can't
out.
do 10-year increments. I can't do that. I mean, it's just
Go on my list. I think they're only gapped at like 2 years.
yeah, but that's the thing about it, because I mean that's what he should have done prior.
Yeah.
But then again, with something like Avatar, for that movie unto itself, I thought it was great. I mean, it was oh my gosh, it was just a movie. I was like, oh, this is awesome. But
When I have to explain to people what the word Avatar means and how it means, like what its correlation is to that movie, everyone starts like trying to like freak out. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, do you know what an avatar is, right?
yes, yeah.
Okay, so like let's start there and let's start backtracking. I'm going to teach you how this works. And everyone's just like, that makes no sense. I'm like, I mean, it does as a name for a movie. Like,
Right.
It's just a name.
And, I mean, technically, by definition, yes, it does kind of make sense. It's just people think when people hear Avatar, they think about the anime series. Or
Well, like Airbender and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it works, but
I don't know. It should just be interesting, especially to see the second one, because I'm like, is it going to still have the same magic? That's my point.
well, we'll see.
I can't get past the seams of the first one because once again, it came out 2009. So we've had so many years just with that one movie. And when I see this, all I can think about is like second-rate Disney movie where they, like, how was it? They had Lion King. And I know they had Lion King 2, but then they came off with like musical spin-offs and like all this other shit. That's what like Avatar 2 feels like to me.
Right.
And I know that I haven't even
2
seen
and 3 has been seen in my house when Gage was younger. It was ridiculous.
My nephew is stuck on all of it right now. It's ridiculous too.
Yeah.
But like I said, my thing is, I just hope it still has the same magic, because it was. Cause I don't think they've sat through the entire movie. I think we've started a couple times, but then of course they have to go fish off into something else.
It's a long sit down.
Yeah, so I hope we're like close enough to where we can like bathroom breaks.
No. Well, I look forward to hearing from that, and I actually might go see it myself. I got about $50 worth of Atom bucks that I can use to do something, so maybe that'll be a trip this weekend too. We'll see.
Maybe whenever Black Adam tickets go on sale, you could use them for that.
That's what I've been saving them for.
Just
so we'll
saying.
Yeah.
That's
It'd be
what,
great
end
if
of
those tickets
October?
went on sale.
Isn't that still end of October? What, like 21st or something like that?
1 month
21st.
away. Is that what you're
Tickets
talking
still are
about?
on sale.
Yeah.
Yep.
God, that close. Oh, that's crazy.
Yep. Well, let's do it. Let's get out of here. Sarah, where can they find you at?
You can find me on the Twitter at My Lady Kitten. And then, of course, you can find me here Friday nights when I decide to watch what I need to watch and jump on.
We watch a lot, so it's totally understandable. It's something
So
that can't get
much.
watched. Ross, where can they find you at? Right here, buddy?
Only here. That's why I talk so much.
Like you can find me at the Bat Daddy 52 on Twitter. Check out at GCS Podcast 1's the show handle. We're here every Friday night, live 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sometimes it varies, but we've been doing pretty good on Fridays for the last few weeks. Come check us out. Give us a like. Give us a review. Share with a friend. Be part of the show. Come in and I'll post your comments and interact with us. It's a fun time. So you can catch the audio on any podcatcher of your choice. I'm dropping it immediately after we get done recording from now on. So check us out. If you don't get a chance to check out the video, check out the audio at least. But let's go ahead and get out of here. I'm tired. And until next week, everybody, keep at it.